High in the emerald embrace of the Qionglai Mountains, a thick silver mist descends through the canopy of ancient conifers. The air here is perfectly crisp, carrying the filtering through the fog is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on the surface of the water, creating a mesmerizing display of light and shadow. The light is a soft, muted and ethereal light that dances on filtering through the fog is a soft, muted sage green, painting the forest floor in gentle, resting shadows. Through the silence, there is only the rhythmic, steady sound of rain softly tapping against broad, waxy bamboo leaves, a natural metronome, slowing down the pulse of the world, slowing down your breathing, inviting you into a place of profound and undisturbed peace. Here, in this secluded sanctuary above the clouds, time stretches out, unhurried and calm. You're merely an observer in this tranquil forest, drifting through the silver fog, completely safe, completely relaxed. As we journey together through the quiet lives of the forest's most gentle giants, you do not need to try to remember. Your subconscious mind is a vast, quiet library, perfectly capable of gently gathering everything you hear. It will effortlessly absorb these truths about the giant panda while you rest. There is no test, no expectation, no effort required. You can simply allow the words to wash over you like the soft mountain rain. Let the facts become a soothing rhythm. If your mind wanders into dreams, let it wander. Just let go. Release the tension in your shoulders, soften the muscles around your eyes, and allow yourself to sink deeper into the plush, comforting darkness. As the fog parts slightly, a shape materializes from the soft grey light. It is a creature of magnificent contrast, cloaked in profound velvety black and pristine, snowy white. This iconic pattern is not merely a beautiful design, but a masterful illusion crafted by nature. In the dappled shade of the bamboo understory, the deep black patches across their heavy shoulders and legs mimic the dark, dense shadows cast by the forest canopy. Meanwhile, the bright white fur of their face and belly blends seamlessly into the lingering patches of mountain snow and the pale light filtering through the winter mist. It is perfect camouflage, a quiet magic trick that allows them to melt into the landscape, resting entirely hidden in plain sight. They are ghosts of the forest, moving with a slow, deliberate grace that defies their massive size. Notice the gentle precision with which this magnificent creature reaches out. To navigate their world, they possess a hidden wonder within their broad, heavy paws. Extending softly from their wrist is a marvel of evolutionary architecture, an elongated carpal bone that acts precisely like a thumb. This pseudo-thumb is incredibly strong yet uniquely delicate, allowing them to grasp slender, slippery stalks of bamboo with the refined dexterity of a musician holding an instrument. Covered in thick, protective pads of skin, this specialized wrist bone curves perfectly against their actual digits, creating a gentle vice that effortlessly strips away the tough outer layers of a bamboo shoot, revealing the tender, sweet heart inside. The crisp, satisfying snap of that bamboo stalk echoes softly in the damp air. This singular sound defines the rhythm of their existence. Despite possessing the digestive tract of a formidable carnivore, complete with sharp teeth and a simple stomach, their heart and habit belong entirely to the forest's most abundant grass. Bamboo makes up 99% of their nourishment. It is a quiet rebellion against their own biology, a choice of absolute peace over predation. Because this highly fibrous plant offers so little energy, they are naturally compelled to live a life of ultimate tranquility, moving only when necessary, avoiding sudden exertion, and embodying a philosophy of slow, deliberate living that we so deeply crave in our own restless lives. Because of this gentle, low-energy diet, their days are unhurried, beautifully monotonous loops of sustenance and slumber. A single panda may spend 14 to 16 hours of every day simply sitting in a comfortable, relaxed posture, slowly consuming up to 40 pounds of bamboo. Imagine the deep, grounding meditation of sitting in a cool, misty grove for hours on end, doing nothing but calmly nourishing your body. The repetitive motion of pulling, peeling and chewing becomes a hypnotic mantra, a slow and steady pendulum that anchors them firmly to the present moment. There is no rush to be anywhere else. There is no anxiety about tomorrow. There is only the stalk in their paw, the cool mist on their fur, and the quiet satisfaction of the current breath. As the soft mountain drizzle continues to fall around them, not a single drop reaches their skin. Their striking coat is incredibly dense, composed of thick, coarse guard hairs layered over a deeply insulating undercoat. But this fur holds a secret comfort. It is richly coated in a natural protective oil secreted by their skin. This subtle oil acts as a perfect waterproof barrier against the persistent dampness of the high-altitude cloud forests. The cold, wet mist simply beads up and rolls off their heavy shoulders like water slipping off a smooth river stone. Inside this plush, oily cocoon, they remain profoundly warm and entirely dry, resting comfortably in the cool mud or snowy banks, perfectly insulated from the chill of the outside world. From the heavy, protective warmth of the adult, we gently shift our focus to one of the most astonishing transformations in the natural world. Deep within a quiet, dark den hollowed out from the roots of an ancient tree, life begins on a remarkably tiny scale. A newborn panda enters the world blind, entirely hairless, and glowing with a soft, delicate pink hue. They are unbelievably fragile, weighing only about 3 to 5 ounces, roughly the size of a small stick of butter, and completely dwarfed by their mother. In fact, the adult is about 900 times larger than her newborn. It is a stunning contrast, a testament to the quiet, fragile miracles unfolding in the hidden, shadowy corners of the earth. This immense difference in size demands an extraordinary level of gentle care. The giant mother cradles her impossibly small pink infant with a tenderness that defies her immense power. She holds the tiny cub delicately against her warm chest in her massive cushioned paws, shielding it completely from the cold, damp air of the den. For the first few weeks of life, she does not leave the den at all, entering a deeply devoted fasting state to ensure the cub's fragile warmth is never broken. She rocks the baby softly, a slow, rhythmic swaying that mirrors the deep, comforting beat of her own heart. It is an image of ultimate, unconditional safety, a protected bubble of warmth in the vast, freezing expanse of the mountains. When they do eventually mature and wander through the endless green corridors of the mountains, they are never truly alone, even when completely out of sight. They leave invisible, fragrant messages for one another upon the rough bark of the great conifers. By backing up against a deeply textured tree trunk and rubbing special glands located beneath their tails, they paint the forest with their unique scent. These waxy, subtle perfumes are carried on the damp breeze, telling a silent, complex story to any passing traveller. It is a quiet, ancient language, allowing them to know who has crossed the mountain pass, how long ago they rested there, and whether they are open to company, all without ever disturbing the silence. These invisible messages perfectly suit their beautifully solitary souls. They are not creatures of bustling herds or noisy packs. They are the quiet wanderers of the wild. They roam alone through the vast, twisting mazes of bamboo, finding absolute contentment in their own quiet company. The sprawling territory provides them with the space they need to breathe, to rest, and to simply be. This solitude is not a loneliness, but a profound and peaceful independence. It is the deep, restorative quiet of a solitary walk through an ancient forest, where the only expectations belong to the gentle rhythm of the earth beneath their soft, heavy pads. Yet, on the rare, serendipitous occasions when their paths do cross in the misty groves, the sounds they make are remarkably gentle and entirely unexpected. Despite their resemblance to great, roaring bears, they do not roar at all. Instead, the forest echoes with soft, endearing vocalizations that sound remarkably like the gentle bleating of a young sheep or a small goat. They communicate through high-pitched honks, soft chirps, and friendly bleats that seem delightfully mismatched to their large, heavy frames. It is a disarming, innocent sound that strips away any illusion of danger, leaving only the reality of a gentle, peaceful creature, perfectly content in its quiet emerald world, slowly drifting through the misty mountains as you too drift deeper and deeper into rest. The quiet bleats of the forest, dissolving softly into the white alpine mist, eventually fade into a new grounding rhythm. It is the deep rhythmic crunch of heavy vegetation, a sound born of immense hidden strength. Beneath the soft, irresistibly round cheeks of this peaceful wanderer lies a marvel of ancient anatomical engineering. Hidden entirely beneath their thick, fluffy coat is a heavy, powerful skull, anchored by a prominent ridge of bone known as a sagittal crest. This central ridge serves as the massive foundation for extraordinary jaw muscles. Muscles so profoundly powerful they can effortlessly crush thick, woody stalks that would easily splinter the bones of other forest dwellers. The very shape of their face, that perfectly round, innocent profile you're picturing in your mind's eye right now, is entirely shaped by the swelling of these massive working muscles. It is a beautiful, calming paradox, a face meticulously designed for devastating, bone-crushing power, yet used only to gently, rhythmically dismantle the quiet flora of the damp mountains. And as you imagine that slow, steady, metronomic rhythm of chewing, crush, release, crush, release, you can feel your own jaw completely relax, parting slightly, letting go of any lingering tension from the day, letting the quiet strength of the ancient forest carry you. The rough, fibrous texture of this shattered bamboo leads us deeper beneath the surface to the hidden armour that protects these slow-moving forest guardians. Beneath the plush, oily guard hairs, and far beneath the dense, insulating undercoat, lies a layer of skin uniquely adapted to their rugged, mountainous environment. On their heavy paws and their soft, round bellies, their skin is incredibly thick, sometimes reaching up to 1/4 of an inch in sheer depth. This remarkable dermal layer is not merely an extra blanket for winter warmth, but a physical, unyielding shield against the sharp, splintering shards of the shattered stalks they consume. As they sit heavily upon great piles of broken, jagged vegetation, they feel absolutely nothing but total enveloping comfort. The sharp edges simply press harmlessly against this thick, protective barrier, yielding to the sheer weight and softness of the creature. It is much like the sharp worries and jagged thoughts of your own waking day, which now press harmlessly against the thick, comfortable barrier of your deepening sleep. You're insulated, you're protected, entirely safe from the sharp edges of the outside world, enveloped in a cocoon of unbothered peace, drifting slowly downward from this heavy, protected body. We focus our attention on the way they physically connect with the earth beneath them. As they move through the emerald shadows, they walk upon the damp forest floor with a slow, flat-footed, shuffling gait, a method of movement scientifically known as a plantigrade stance. Unlike the nimble cats or sprinting wolves that walk gracefully upon the tips of their toes, the giant panda places its entire massive foot, from the heavy heel all the way to the padded toes, entirely flat upon the cool, damp soil. This broad, flat-footed connection grounds them completely to the earth, giving them a heavy, rolling, side-to-side waddle that perfectly conserves their vital energy with every single step. There is absolutely no rushing this walk, no frantic sprinting through the mountain mist, only a deliberate heavy placing of the paw, one after the other, sinking slightly into the soft green moss. It is a slow, rhythmic march, a gentle pendulum that perfectly matches the slowing, steady rhythm of your own resting heart, sinking deeper and deeper into the softness beneath you. And as this grounding knowledge settles into your mind, your breathing slows even further, effortlessly matching the unhurried pace of the alpine shadows. You're drifting, letting the words simply carry you. Echoing this external slowness is the quiet, hidden journey happening within their heavy bodies. Despite spending nearly their entire waking day consuming vast, endless quantities of green shoots and leaves, their bodies only absorb a tiny, fleeting fraction of what they eat, capturing barely 17% of the plant's nutrients. Their digestive tract remains that of a carnivore, simple and short, entirely unsuited to fully break down the complex, rigid cellulose of the mountain grasses. And so, the bamboo merely passes through them, a fleeting temporary visitor in their system. This beautiful biological inefficiency is the very reason for their calm, lethargic existence. They simply cannot afford the physical energy to worry, to fight, or to stress. They are biologically mandated to remain in a state of near-constant restful conservation. Just as you're doing now, letting transient thoughts pass through your mind without holding on to them, absorbing only the peace, and letting the rest simply fade away into the quiet dark. The fading of internal energy gently brings us to the fading of the external seasons. As the warm, damp mists of the alpine summer slowly crystallize into the biting diamond-clear frost of winter, a profound, heavy silence blankets the jagged Qionglai peaks. While other great bears of the world retreat into deep, dark caves to sleep away the freezing, barren months, this gentle giant continues its slow, solitary wandering through the frozen landscape. They do not hibernate. Their incredibly low-calorie diet of pure vegetation simply does not allow them to build the massive heavy fat reserves required for a months-long motionless slumber. Instead, as the snow deepens and the air thins, they simply embark on a slow, deliberate downward migration, drifting out of the freezing, windswept high altitudes and descending into the slightly warmer, sheltered, forested valleys below. They become perpetual, slow-moving travellers in a quiet, snowy wonderland, leaving large, flat, perfectly shaped footprints in the fresh, unbroken powder. It is a quiet journey of finding comfort exactly where they are, adapting to the bitter cold with a warm, heavy, unbothered grace, walking softly through the falling snow, while the snow falls silently, covering the ground in a thick blanket of white. True safety is often found suspended quietly in the air above. Despite their immense bowling ball weight and their grounded, shuffling waddle, they possess a surprising hidden agility that belies their size. From a very young, fragile age, tiny cubs are taught by their mothers to climb high into the ancient towering conifers that pierce the mist. Their surprisingly sharp claws and their strong, thick, embracing arms allow them to hoist their heavy bodies effortlessly up into the dense canopy, escaping any earthly ground-dwelling dangers. But even high up in the swaying branches, their true, restful nature prevails. They do not labour to build complex nests. They simply find a sturdy, thick, moss-covered branch and drape their heavy bodies over it with complete, utter abandon. They slump heavily, their thick limbs dangling loosely and freely in the cool mountain air, their heads resting heavily on the wood. They yield entirely to the pull of gravity, surrendering their weight to the shape of the tree. Much like you are surrendering your own weight to the softness beneath you right now, feeling heavy, feeling perfectly supported, completely and deeply at rest. The soft, protective shadows of the upper canopy draw our heavy attention down to the darkest shadows on the panda's own face, those iconic teardrop patches of velvety black fur encircling their gentle dark eyes. These dark, beautiful halos are not just for aesthetic contrast, they are nature's own perfect sunglasses, as the bright, blinding, piercing light of the high-altitude sun reflects intensely off the pristine, blinding winter snow. These dark, dense patches absorb the harsh glare, protecting their sensitive, round eyes from the blinding brightness of the alpine light. It is a built-in shade, a localized, personal twilight that keeps their vision soft, cool, and clear. And beyond the manipulation of light, these patches are as uniquely individual as a human fingerprint. No two dark patterns are exactly perfectly alike, subtly varying in shape and size, allowing them to quietly and instantly recognize one another in those rare, fleeting moments when their solitary paths cross. They recognize a familiar friend in the soft, shadowy twilight of the forest, just as your mind now recognizes this peaceful state, drifting deeper and deeper into your own comfortable personal twilight. And as this personal twilight deepens, and this gentle, rhythmic story washes over you, you can feel the tiny muscles in your neck completely let go, the weight of your head sinking heavy, warm and soft into the pillow. The texture of time itself stretches out in this place, governed not by the frantic ticking of seconds or hours, but by the ancient, incredibly slow, majestic cycles of the forest itself. The endless oceans of bamboo they rely upon harbour a spectacular generational secret deep within their roots. Once every 40 to perhaps 120 years, an entire sprawling species of bamboo across a whole, massive mountain range will suddenly, miraculously flower. They will bloom in a quiet explosion of seeds. And then, having fulfilled their ancient purpose, they will die off completely, all at once, returning to the soil. It is a slow, cosmic clock ticking silently beneath the earth. When this great dying happens, the pandas must slowly, patiently migrate, trusting their deep, ancient instincts to guide them across unfamiliar ridges and roaring rivers, to find new, distant, thriving green groves. It is a profound biological lesson in trusting the journey, knowing with absolute certainty that even when one source of nourishment fades away, another waits patiently for them in the misty distance, waiting for you to simply, calmly arrive. This ancient, silently ticking clock leads our heavy minds backward through the dense mists of time, far beyond the current towering mountains, to a time when the world was unimaginably wildly different. The solitary lineage of this peaceful creature is incredibly, unfathomably old, stretching back continuously for millions upon millions of years, deep within the cold, compressed layers of the fossil record. Scientists have uncovered the remains of their tiny ancient ancestor. This primordial creature, known as a Leuropoda microta, was no larger than a small domestic dog, yet it already possessed the distinct, flattened, specialized teeth designed entirely for a peaceful life of eating fibrous bamboo. Through the violent rise and freezing fall of massive ice ages, through the tectonic shifting of entire continents and the vanishing of countless mighty species, the panda simply kept their heads down, kept chewing, kept adapting, kept finding profound peace in the quiet, undisturbed corners of a chaotic world. They are living, breathing relics of a long-forgotten era, a living testament to the enduring survival power of a quiet, unassuming life. Their very existence is a deep, comforting breath, drawn slowly from the ancient, dusty lungs of the earth itself. The slow, deep breath of the earth manifests physically as the crystal-clear, freezing mountain streams that carve their way through the dense bamboo forests. While these gentle giants derive a vast amount of their daily hydration directly from the moisture-rich, succulent shoots they endlessly consume, they still naturally seek out the pristine, icy perfection of these mountain springs. When they lower their heavy heads to drink, they do not frantically lap at the water quickly. Instead, they press their broad, soft muzzles directly to the glassy surface and softly, continuously suck the water in. It is a gentle, prolonged, rhythmic drawing of the freezing liquid into their massive, warm bodies. Sometimes, in the quiet heat of the dense summer forest, they drink so deeply and for so continuously long that they become wonderfully intoxicated by the sheer volume of the water. They become waterlogged, heavy, and delightfully drowsy, simply falling into a deep, immovable, heavy slumber right there on the cool, mossy riverbank, completely giving in to the overwhelming biological need to rest. They surrender utterly to the weight of their bodies, just as you are surrendering now, giving in completely. Letting the cool, clear, quiet water of sleep wash softly over your mind, pulling you gently under, down into the absolute, undisturbed, heavy depths of the night. The cool, dark depths of the mountain river flow smoothly and quietly over ancient, rounded stones, endlessly tumbling over and over themselves in the steady, patient current. This smooth, rolling motion of the water is beautifully mirrored by a surprisingly playful secret, held deep within the panda's heavy, magnificent frame. Despite their immense barrel-like girth and their slow, shuffling walk, their spine is a hidden marvel of astonishing, yielding flexibility. When moving through the steep, densely forested ravines of their damp alpine home, they often abandon the effort of walking altogether. Instead, they gently tuck their heavy, massive heads beneath their thick, insulated arms, rounding their plush bodies into a perfect, soft sphere, and simply, joyfully somersault down the mossy emerald inclines. It is an act of pure, unbothered efficiency, yielding completely and entirely to the soft, inevitable pull of gravity, rolling softly through the fragrant ferns and the damp, dark earth, just as your own mind is now rolling softly, smoothly downward, descending into the deepest, quietest valleys of sleep, entirely unresisting, completely letting go. The soft green blur of the mossy earth passing by in that gentle tumbling descent gradually slows and eventually comes to a perfect, peaceful rest, bringing the intricate, microscopic details of the forest floor into sharp, beautiful focus. And focus is something this gentle creature perceives in a remarkably unique and unexpected way. If you were to look deeply into the dark, soulful pools of a giant panda's eyes, past the thick, velvety black halos that shield them from the bright alpine sun, you would notice a feature that separates them from almost every other great bear on Earth. In the soft, dappled light of the bamboo grove, their pupils do not round out perfectly, but narrow into striking vertical slits. Much like the ancient, mystic eyes of a twilight-stalking feline, this incredibly specialized aperture allows them to expertly and precisely filter the shifting, fragmented light of the dense understory, navigating the complex, shadowy maze of the forest with a quiet, unmatched visual precision, seeing perfectly through the obscuring silver mist, just as your unconscious mind now sees with perfect, calm clarity, cutting effortlessly through the fog of your drifting, fading thoughts. The quiet precision of that twilight vision slowly leads us to peer into the hidden, shadowy depths of a hollowed-out log, where a sound completely foreign to the world of massive bears softly, rhythmically echoes. We return for a quiet moment to the fragile, impossibly small newborn cubs, nestled deep in the warm, dark, absolute safety of their mother's heavy embrace. When these tiny, pink, blind infants need to communicate their needs in the overwhelming vastness of the cold mountain world, they do not growl or whimper or roar in the dark. Instead, they emit a series of soft, raspy, rhythmic croaks, a sound startlingly and beautifully identical to a small tree frog singing gently in the warm spring rain. It is a tiny, fragile vibration in the massive silence, a delicate amphibious chorus rising up from the thick, oily fur of their colossal mother, a profound reminder of the delicate, bizarre, and beautiful intricacies of life, hiding safely in the undisturbed dark. And as this gentle knowledge softly settles into your mind, your breathing slows even further. Your chest rises and falls with the gentle, rhythmic, slow croak of the forest, letting every remaining ounce of tension simply melt away into the velvet shadows. The quiet, microscopic vibrations of that tiny croaking sound reflect the unseen, microscopic universe thriving silently within the massive panda's heavy core. We know their digestive system is stubbornly, anciently built for meat, naturally resisting the tough, fibrous bamboo they tirelessly consume hour after hour. But nature, in its infinite, slow, and persistent wisdom, has provided a hidden, internal forest to help them survive this contradiction. Deep within their simple digestive tract lives a highly specialized, unique colony of microscopic flora, a specific complex array of gut bacteria entirely unique to their lineage. These tiny, silent passengers work tirelessly in the warm, dark depths of the animal, possessing the rare chemical ability to break down tiny, vital fractions of rigid cellulose, extracting just enough precious golden energy from the tough, woody shoots to keep the giant's heavy heart beating its slow, steady rhythm. It is a perfect, silent symbiosis, an unseen partnership working constantly in the background without any conscious effort, much like your own autonomic nervous system right now, quietly, perfectly maintaining your breathing, your slow heartbeat, and your deepening rest, requiring absolutely no effort from you at all. This internal, unseen architecture gently and smoothly guides our awareness back outward to the very physical foundation upon which they stand. As they resume their slow, flat-footed march across the damp, spongy forest floor, their heavy footprints reveal another quiet, beautiful anomaly, unlike their distant, roaming brown and black bear cousins, who leave the deep, unmistakable impression of a heavy, solid, fleshy heel pad in the wet mud. The giant panda lacks this defining feature almost entirely. If you were to look at the underside of their massive, heavy paw, you would see it is incredibly hairy, covered in a dense, thick carpeting of coarse fur that leaves only the softest, most indistinct, blurry impression behind in the soil. This thick, furry sole provides absolutely vital insulation against the biting, freezing snow. But it also means they move through the physical world leaving barely a trace, stepping softly, silently, almost invisibly through the ancient woods. They are heavy phantoms, walking peacefully without leaving a harsh mark, just as the sharp worries of your waking day are now stepping softly, silently away, leaving no trace whatsoever upon your peaceful, resting mind. The soft, furry imprint fading quickly on the frozen earth beautifully captures the pristine, blinding white of the newly fallen mountain snow. And it is within this freezing, crystalline environment that a surprising, vibrant spark of energy occasionally flickers to life. While they generally move with a slow, deliberate, absolute conservation of energy, the arrival of fresh, dry, powdery snow often triggers a deep, ancient, instinctual joy. They will purposefully seek out steep, heavily snow-laden banks beneath the pine boughs, and joyfully, vigorously rub their massive, heavy bodies against the freezing powder. This is not merely an act of winter play. It is a slow, methodical, deeply ingrained ritual of cleansing. The dry, abrasive, icy crystals of the snow act as a natural purifying bath, physically stripping away excess dirt, lingering parasites, and old, matted undercoat, leaving their spectacular black and white coats brilliantly clean and incredibly vibrant against the drab, grey winter landscape. They emerge from the deep snowbanks entirely renewed, cleansed, refreshed, completely unburdened, just as this deep hypnotic rest is now washing over you, cleansing your mind of the day's heavy clutter, slowly preparing you to awaken eventually renewed, bright, and brilliantly clear. And as this deep, purifying comfort settles entirely over you, your breathing slows once more, perfectly matching the gentle, falling, silent rhythm of the snowflakes, settling peacefully and softly upon the quiet earth. The pristine, untouched surface of the sparkling snowbank stretches out into the vast, complex, invisible maps of the sprawling mountain range. Though they wander beautifully solitary, seemingly drifting without a specific destination, these gentle giants possess an extraordinary, deeply ingrained spatial memory. They carry incredibly complex three-dimensional maps of the sprawling vertical bamboo forests perfectly within their heavy, magnificent heads. They know exactly, intuitively, where the most succulent, tender shoots will emerge from the soil in the early spring. They remember the exact twisting, hidden paths that lead to the safest, driest, rocky outcroppings to shelter from the relentless rain. And they meticulously track the invisible, scent-marked borders of their silent, distant neighbours. They navigate this massive, vertical world without ever once becoming lost, guided by a quiet, absolute knowing, a deep, infallible inner compass that never, ever fails them. You too have this exact deep inner compass, guiding you safely, surely, and smoothly down into the restorative depths of sleep, knowing exactly where to go, exactly how to let go, trusting the journey completely. This deep, internal, unquestioning knowing sometimes guides their sensitive noses to hidden, unexpected treasures buried far beneath the damp, fragrant earth. While the endless green sea of bamboo consumes almost the entirety of their quiet existence, they are not entirely strictly bound by it. Their ancient carnivorous ghost still lingers in their DNA, whispering faintly in the background of their instincts. On very rare, serendipitous occasions, their powerful sense of smell will gently guide them to a hidden patch of wild vines, where they will use their massive, specialized claws to patiently and deliberately excavate sweet, starchy, wild mountain yams from the dirt, and even more rarely, should they stumble upon it in the quiet shadows of the undergrowth, they will consume the remnants of a fallen animal, a tiny fleeting burst of dense protein in an otherwise completely green, leafy world. It is a quiet, beautiful reminder that even in the most rigid, structured and predictable lives, there is always room for a gentle deviation, a soft, unexpected, enriching variation that brings a moment of sweet, grounding nourishment to the soul. The deep, grounding nourishment pulled from the dark earth is perfectly reflected in the very foundation of their massive physical architecture. To support a slow life spent endlessly consuming and mechanically breaking down incredibly dense, tough vegetation, their entire skeletal structure has evolved over millennia to become unimaginably heavy and profoundly dense. Their bones are physically thicker, significantly wider, and far more heavily calcified than other animals of their comparative size. This profound internal skeletal density gives them a magnificent, immovable, glorious weight, an anchoring heaviness that keeps them firmly, perfectly grounded to the mountain floor, even in the fiercest howling alpine winds. They are literal pillars of calcium and ancient, unyielding stone, unbothered, unshakable, deeply and permanently rooted in their tranquil existence. Feel that exact same magnificent density in your own bones right now. Feel your arms and your legs becoming incredibly, wonderfully heavy, sinking downward, anchoring you perfectly and safely to the absolute comfort of your bed. And as this heavy, unshakable stillness settles deep within your marrow, your breathing slows to a near standstill, a gentle, almost imperceptible rise and fall, completely at peace, completely surrendered to the weight. This magnificent, heavy stillness leads us finally, quietly, to the very word we use to softly call them out of the silver mist, long before they were recognized by the rushing modern world of science, long before they were captured in photographs or studied in quiet sanctuaries. The ancient indigenous people who shared these misty, towering mountains knew them by a different, beautifully whispered name. High in the Himalayan foothills, speaking in the ancient, rolling, soft syllables of the Nepali language, they were simply called Ponya. This soft, beautiful word, drifting like wood smoke through the ancient centuries, simply translates to the eater of bamboo, or beautifully, the creature with the flat, heavy foot. It is a name born directly from quiet observation, a title completely devoid of myth, or legend, or fear, simply honouring exactly what they are and exactly what they do in the silence. Ponya, a soft, breathy sound, a gentle exhalation that sounds exactly like the wind moving slowly through the hollow green stalks. Ponya, fading slowly and gently into the absolute silence, leaving only the quiet, heavy, unbothered rhythm of the sleeping giant and the deep, endless, velvety dark of your own perfectly peaceful rest. The velvety dark of your own perfectly peaceful rest merges beautifully with the profound, protected darkness hidden deep within the sleeping giant. As we drift softly beneath the surface of their thick, rising and falling chest, we discover another layer of magnificent ancient armour. The tough, splintering shards of the shattered mountain grasses would tear the delicate insides of any other creature. But the panda has quietly, perfectly adapted from the inside out. Their entire esophagus and the walls of their simple resting stomach aligned with a remarkably thick, tough, highly specialised layer of muscular tissue and heavy mucus. This internal shielding acts much like the thickest, softest leather, allowing the sharpest, most jagged fragments of chewed stalks to slide smoothly, effortlessly, and harmlessly through their warm core. It is a biological miracle of complete internal safety, a profound reassurance that no matter how sharp or abrasive the outside world may be, they remain entirely untouched, entirely secure, and deeply protected within, just as you are entirely protected now, shielded by the heavy, comforting blanket of your own deep relaxation. The tough, resilient texture of this internal armour seamlessly becomes the external texture of the sprawling, endless forest around them. While we often imagine this gentle creature surrounded by a single, monotonous type of green, the true visual reality of their sanctuary is a breathtaking, diverse kaleidoscope of colour and form. In the high, misty altitudes they call home, they do not rely on just one plant, but gracefully forage among dozens of different, highly specific varieties of bamboo. Depending on the shifting light of the season, they might calmly strip the bright emerald green leaves of the arrow bamboo, or gently crush the pale golden yellow stalks of the umbrella bamboo, or even seek out the rare, deeply bruised purple hues of the black bamboo shooting up through the damp, dark soil. The forest is a vast, shifting tapestry of subtle colours, a quiet, endless buffet of soft greens, warm golds, and deep, shadowed purples, swaying gently in the mountain breeze, mesmerising the eye and soothing the mind with its endless, rhythmic, gentle variety. The gentle swaying of these countless colourful stalks lulls the forest into a state of profound, thoughtless meditation, and this quiet, unbothered stillness is perfectly mirrored by the magnificent, energy-saving architecture of the panda's own resting mind. For a creature that possesses such an immense, heavy, towering physical form, their brain is beautifully, surprisingly small in proportion to their massive body. This is not a lack of intelligence, but rather a breathtakingly brilliant evolutionary strategy of absolute peace. The brain is the most energy-hungry organ in any animal's body. Constantly burning calories to process complex anxieties, fierce predatory strategies, or frantic social hierarchies. By evolving a smaller, highly efficient and deeply calm brain, the panda simply opts out of the frantic race. They choose a life of low energy, completely free from unnecessary worry, totally devoid of the exhausting need to overthink their existence. Their mind is a quiet, still, undisturbed pond, reflecting only the present moment, reflecting only the peace of the mist, completely unburdened by the heavy, exhausting static of the world. And as this deep, thoughtless peace settles perfectly into your mind, your breathing slows, the gentle rise of your chest matches the slow, quiet expansion of the ancient forest, letting every lingering thought simply dissolve into the cool, grey mist. This profound, quiet simplicity allows the dreaming mind to drift across the vast, sprawling mountain ranges, slowly leaving the familiar, sharp, black and white shadows entirely behind. Far away, separated by deep, echoing valleys and rushing, icy rivers, in the isolated, sun-drenched, rocky peaks of the Qionglai Mountains, a different, softer shadow falls across the bamboo. Here, a beautifully distinct, incredibly rare variation of this gentle giant roams quietly through the sunbeams. Instead of the stark, contrasting velvet black, the bears of this specific ancient mountain hold the warm, soft colours of the earth itself. Their dark patches are a rich, muted sepia, the colour of roasted chestnuts or damp, fertile soil, and their lighter fur is not the blinding white of snow, but a warm, creamy, pale caramel. Watching this warm, sepia-toned phantom move softly through the dappled emerald light is like looking through an old, faded, deeply cherished photograph, a warm, nostalgic vision that wraps around you like a heavy, comforting, familiar quilt, bringing a deep sense of warmth to the cool, alpine air, the soft caramel warmth of the Qionglai sun. Is a beautiful golden light that the youngest, most fragile members of the forest must wait patiently, beautifully in the dark to see. When we envision the heavy, rolling giants of the mountains, it is almost impossible to reconcile them with the absolute blind vulnerability of their beginning. For a breathtaking stretch of time, spanning 6 to 8 incredibly long, quiet weeks after they are born into the damp den, The tiny cub's eyes remain tightly, completely sealed shut. They exist entirely in a world of pure sensation, relying only on the soft, massive warmth of their mother's chest, the rhythmic, booming, comforting sound of her slow heartbeat, and the rich, nourishing taste of her milk. They do not need to see the world to know they are entirely safe. They surrender completely to the protective darkness, trusting implicitly that when the time is perfectly right, the light will slowly, gently filter in. It is a profound lesson in patience, a quiet reminder that it is perfectly safe to close your eyes, perfectly safe to linger in the dark, perfectly safe to simply rest and be held by the heavy quiet of the night. The slow, eventual opening of those round, innocent eyes reveals a vast, ancient world of hidden, unexpected connections. As the young panda finally looks down at its own heavy, furry paws, it sees the magnificent, elongated wrist bone, that magical false thumb we marvelled at before. But the deep, dreamlike logic of the forest holds a secret. Millions of years ago, across the vast, shifting canopy of the ancient world, another, entirely different creature evolved this exact same, beautiful tool. High above the heavy panda, leaping gracefully through the highest, thinnest branches, the fiery, small, raccoon-like red panda grips the very same bamboo with the very same pseudo-thumb. It is a stunning, silent echo of nature, a phenomenon known as convergent evolution. Two entirely separate souls, living vastly different lives in the mist, finding the exact same, perfect, elegant solution to peacefully existing in the Emerald Sea. It is a deep, comforting reminder that all things are connected in the quiet dark, that perfectly beautiful solutions are shared across time, weaving an invisible, comforting web of life that holds the entire resting world together. And as this sense of ancient, quiet connection settles warmly over you, your breathing slows even further. You feel perfectly anchored to the deep, slow rhythms of the earth, drifting completely untethered from the rush of the waking day. This ancient shared history of the mountains remained beautifully, entirely hidden from the bustling, rushing world of human observation for centuries upon centuries. In the sprawling, magnificent history of ancient Chinese art and literature, a culture that meticulously, passionately recorded the vibrant life of the natural world, this massive, striking creature is almost entirely, inexplicably absent. While fierce, striped tigers stalked across miles of painted silk, and magnificent scaled dragons coiled through the ink-washed clouds of poetry. The gentle panda remained a total perfect ghost. They lived so deeply in the inaccessible, freezing, misty altitudes, moving so quietly, so solitarily, so peacefully through the dense, choking bamboo, that they simply eluded the frantic, searching eyes of humanity. They were the ultimate masters of quiet, unbothered isolation, existing purely for themselves in the silver mist, entirely unconcerned with being seen, or known, or recorded. They are the ultimate embodiment of retreating from the noise, finding absolute, perfect contentment in remaining a quiet, peaceful secret in the dark, escaping the dark ink and the sweeping brush of the ancient artists. They instead choose to leave their own invisible, deeply fragrant signatures upon the living, breathing canvas of the forest itself. The smooth, blank silk of the forgotten scrolls is replaced by the rough, deeply textured, peeling bark of the oldest, most massive pine trees. In the dense, confusing maze of the understory where vision is limited to mere feet, they communicate through a complex, silent symphony of scent. By gently, deliberately rubbing against these specific ancient marker trees, they leave waxy, heavily scented pheromones that linger perfectly in the damp, freezing air for weeks. These invisible aromatic messages are incredibly complex, quietly telling a passing wanderer the age, the mood, and the exact identity of the giant who rested there days before. It is a slow, patient, beautiful conversation happening entirely in the air, a dialogue that requires no sound, no energy, only the quiet, rhythmic drawing of breath through a sensitive nose, pulling the story of the forest deep into their lungs, just as you are pulling this deep, restful air perfectly into yours. The waxy, complex scent clinging perfectly to the rough bark is a silent testament to their heavy passage, just as the magnificent hidden architecture of their mouth is a testament to their gentle, endless harvest. We drift back to the slow, hypnotic rhythm of their chewing, but this time we look deeper into the shadows of their jaw. Far in the back of their massive mouth, where the heavy crushing work is done, their premolars and molars have evolved to become incredibly, astonishingly broad, remarkably flat, and beautifully wide. They do not possess the sharp, slicing, jagged teeth of a true predator in the back of their throat, but rather the heavy, flat, grinding millstones of a creature perfectly devoted to peace. These massive teeth meet with a heavy, satisfying, absolute finality, expertly crushing the toughest, most fibrous, rigid plant material into a soft, easily swallowed pulp. It is a slow, methodical, deeply satisfying reduction of the physical world, taking the hard, sharp edges of the day and gently, rhythmically grinding them down into absolutely nothing, until only the smooth, soft quiet remains. And as this heavy, satisfying rhythm settles perfectly into your awareness, your breathing slows to its deepest, most restful pace. The hard edges of your thoughts have been ground down into pure, soft stillness, leaving you floating, perfectly weightless, in the dark. The slow, heavy rhythm of the harvest, the endless, peaceful grinding of the mountain mill, finally, inevitably yields to the overwhelming biological pull of total slumber. After hours of sitting in the cool, damp mist, a massive, uncontrollable wave of exhaustion washes over the giant. The grinding slowly stops, the heavy head tilts back, and the panda releases an impossibly wide, slow, magnificent yawn, exposing those broad, flat teeth to the cool night air. It is a deeply contagious physical release of every single ounce of remaining energy, without a single anxious thought about where they are or what tomorrow might bring. They simply let gravity take them. They do not build a bed. They do not seek a cave. They simply collapse softly onto the damp moss, or the freezing snow, or the thick swaying branches of a pine. They curl their massive, heavy bodies into a perfect, round, soft crescent, tucking their sensitive nose beneath their thick, insulated paws, and instantly, beautifully, effortlessly slip into the deep, dark, unbothered void of sleep. They surrender entirely, and as you watch them fade completely into the deep, velvet shadows of the resting forest, you too simply let go, sinking heavily, warmly, and completely into the beautiful, perfect quiet of the night. The beautiful, perfect quiet of the night settles over the heavy, sleeping giant like a thick, comforting blanket, wrapping the entire forest in a state of profound, undisturbed surrender. In this magnificent state of collapse, the rhythm of life itself slows down to an ancient glacial crawl. If you were to gently place your hand against the thick, slowly rising and falling chest of the resting creature, you would feel a heart beating with unimaginable, deliberate slowness. To perfectly conserve the precious golden energy painstakingly gathered from their low-calorie leafy diet, their resting heart rate drops significantly, entering a state of profound, peaceful efficiency that borders on a waking hibernation. It is a biological metronome set to the absolute lowest, most tranquil tempo imaginable, perfectly mirroring the slow, unhurried rotation of the earth beneath them. They do not rush the warm blood through their heavy veins. They simply let it flow, a slow, winding river of life that requires no effort, no urgency, and no anxiety. only the quiet, steady, reassuring drumbeat of deep, continuous rest. The slow, winding river of their heavy lifeblood carries the silent, microscopic echoes of a profound evolutionary choice, a choice written entirely and permanently within their DNA, millions of years ago as they slowly, peacefully transitioned from fierce, wandering predators to gentle, sedentary foragers. An invisible switch was gracefully flipped deep within their genetic code. They completely and permanently lost the active function of the TAS1R1 gene, the specific genetic sequence responsible for tasting umami, the rich, savoury flavour that drives all other carnivores to endlessly, frantically hunt. Without this biological desire, the taste of meat simply faded into a dull, uninteresting, unappetizing grey. While the crisp, hydrating, fibrous snap of the surrounding bamboo became perfectly, beautifully, and entirely sufficient. It was a genetic surrender, a microscopic letting go of the exhausting need to chase and conquer, allowing them to find absolute perfect satisfaction in the quiet, green abundance that already surrounded them, just as you are finding absolute perfect satisfaction in the quiet, soft abundance of this very moment. And as this deep knowledge of perfect, gentle satisfaction settles into your awareness, your breathing slows to a gentle, hypnotic tide. You let go of the need to chase. You let go of the need to strive, sinking deeper and deeper into the soft, supporting dark. This quiet, endless green abundance moving steadily through their massive bodies travels on an incredibly swift, remarkably short and highly efficient journey, while the panda itself moves through the mist with a heavy, unhurried, lethargic grace. The inner workings of their digestive tract operate on a surprisingly fleeting timeline. Because their ancestral simple stomach cannot fully absorb or break down the tough, rigid plant fibres, the crushed bamboo passes entirely through their system in a mere 8 to 12 hours. It is a constant, flowing, uninterrupted cycle of intake and immediate release. A beautiful, purely physical metaphor for letting things pass effortlessly through you, without ever holding on. They do not store the heavy burden of what they have consumed. They absorb only the vital, fleeting, necessary nourishment they need for the current day, and they effortlessly, peacefully let the rest go, returning it quietly to the damp, mossy earth. It is a perfect, continuous circle, a cleansing, gentle flow that beautifully mirrors your own mind right now, naturally releasing the heavy clutter of the waking hours, holding on to absolutely nothing, and simply, peacefully letting go. The damp, moss-covered earth, deeply enriched by this endless, gentle cycle of release, supports the softest, most unimaginably tender moments hidden deep within the shadowy, high-altitude dens. In those pitch-black, silent caverns hollowed out beneath the twisting roots of ancient evergreens, a massive giant mother performs a vital, rhythmic, ancient ritual of absolute devotion. The tiny, blind, pink newborn cub is so impossibly fragile, so entirely helpless, that it cannot even process its own nourishment or release its own microscopic waste without her direct physical guidance. With immense, deliberate, breathtaking care, the colossal mother uses her large, rough, warm tongue to constantly, gently stroke the infant's tiny, delicate belly. This soft, repetitive, rhythmic lapping is a strict biological necessity, manually stimulating the cub's tiny internal systems to function in the cold dark. But it is also a profound, enveloping sensory experience of pure warmth and absolute impenetrable safety. The rough, damp, heavy texture of her tongue, the deep, rhythmic, booming vibration of her purring breath, echoing in the small space. It is the only world the tiny cub knows, a world composed entirely of repetitive, soothing strokes. A gentle, hypnotic, endless massage in the perfect dark. The soft, hypnotic massage in the quiet dark of the den stands in breathtaking, magnificent contrast to the immense, unyielding strength required to eventually survive the rugged, jagged alpine world outside. As that tiny, fragile pink cub slowly grows into a massive, heavy, solitary wanderer, its physical structure miraculously fortifies into living, breathing, impenetrable armor. If we look deep beneath the soft, wonderfully round, innocent fluff of their iconic, beautiful face, we find a skull of astonishing, heavy, impenetrable thickness. The frontal bone of their forehead is heavily, incredibly reinforced, forming a solid, dense, bony dome designed by nature to effortlessly withstand the sudden, cracking fall of heavy, ice-laden bamboo stalks in the bitter winter winds, or the tumbling, bruising, heavy rolls down steep, rocky, unforgiving ravines. It is a natural, heavily calcified, perfect helmet. A heavy protective vault that keeps the quiet, tranquil, unbothered mind within perfectly safe and entirely isolated from the sudden, sharp impacts of the external world. You too possess this quiet, protective vault, a heavy, peaceful, unshakable space resting gently behind your closed eyes, perfectly shielded from the noise of the world, completely and eternally untouched by the crashing of the day. And as you settle securely and heavily into this quiet, heavily protected space, your breathing slows once more, a heavy, steady, rhythmic comfort washes over you, anchored deeply in the absolute, unquestionable knowledge that you are entirely, perfectly safe. The heavy, protective, impenetrable dome of their massive skull is flanked by two surprisingly sensitive, perfectly rounded, fuzzy receivers, meticulously tuned to the most delicate, whispering frequencies of the vast forest. While their eyesight is beautifully adapted to the shifting, dappled shadows of the understory, it is their incredible, highly refined sense of hearing that truly, deeply connects them to the vast, invisible, sprawling landscape. Their large, specialized, deeply hollowed ear canals can easily pick up the faintest, softest rustle of a snow leopard, moving gracefully miles down the plunging valley, or the distant, muffled, rhythmic crunch of a fellow panda chewing bamboo on a completely obscured neighboring mountain ridge. They can literally hear the mountain breathing, catching the microscopic, crystalline sounds of frost forming delicately on the tips of pine needles, or the gentle, hidden, musical trickle of underground springs flowing beneath the heavy snow. It is a state of deep, passive, beautiful listening, absorbing the vast auditory tapestry of the world without ever feeling the slightest need to react or move or worry. They simply listen, allowing the soft, distant sounds to pass over them like a cool, gentle breeze, just as you're passively, peacefully listening to the soft, rhythmic cadence of these words, letting them wash over you. This state of passive, peaceful listening weaves them seamlessly and beautifully into the intricate, sprawling, magnificent tapestry of the high-altitude ecosystem. In the vast, interconnected, delicate web of the natural world, the gentle, lumbering panda serves a profoundly important role far greater than its own quiet, solitary existence. They are scientifically and globally recognized as a magnificent umbrella species. This beautiful term means that the sprawling, misty, ancient, untouched bamboo forests required to shelter, hide, and feed just one wandering giant also naturally, effortlessly, and simultaneously provide a pristine, protected sanctuary for thousands of other, tiny, unseen, magical lives. The brilliant golden, snub-nosed monkey leaping joyfully through the high, icy canopy. The vibrant, iridescent, painted pheasants hiding quietly in the thick, damp underbrush. The countless, glowing, quiet amphibians resting in the muddy riverbeds. They all thrive perfectly under the wide, protective, invisible umbrella of the panda's mere existence. By simply being exactly who they are, by simply taking up their quiet, unbothered, peaceful space in the world, they unconsciously, flawlessly protect an entire, beautiful, breathing world around them. Their immense peace is a literal shelter for others, just as your profound, deepening peace in this very moment is a perfect healing shelter for your own resting body and your own quiet mind. The wide, protective emerald umbrella of their misty mountain home sometimes opens unexpectedly to reveal rare, beautiful moments of pure, unadulterated, and seemingly entirely pointless joy. Even as massive, heavily burdened, entirely solitary adults, completely untethered from the playful, social demands of a rushing pack or a noisy herd, they will succumb fully to the quiet, internal, instinctual urge to simply, happily play. When the heavy, warm monsoon rains leave deep, cold, thick, muddy pools that perfectly reflect the silver, overcast sky, a wandering panda will often completely abandon its endless rhythmic quest for food. They will slowly, deliberately wade into the freezing water, sinking deep into the thick, dark, heavy mud, and begin to joyfully, vigorously, heavily splash. They will slap the surface of the water with their massive, heavy paws, rolling their immense, thick bodies over and over in the cool, soothing sludge, utterly and completely consumed by the simple, grounding, tactile pleasure of the wet earth against their thick fur. It serves absolutely no survival purpose. It yields no precious calories. It is simply the pure, heavy, magnificent release of physical tension, a joyful, solitary, quiet celebration of simply being alive in a cool, damp, beautiful world. It is the deep, cellular permission to stop working, to stop trying, and to simply, joyfully exist in the heavy softness. And as you grant yourself that exact same deep cellular permission, your breathing slows to its most beautiful, restful, imperceptible rhythm. You sink entirely, heavily into the welcoming softness beneath you, completely letting go of any purpose other than this exact, perfect moment of peace. The cool, damp, heavy mud they so joyfully and playfully embrace rests upon a breathtaking foundation of ancient, unimaginable, silent geological wonder. The sprawling, jagged mountain ranges they call their eternal home, the mist-shrouded Minshan and the towering Qionglai peaks, are largely composed of ancient, deeply weathered karst limestone. Millions of years of relentless soft rain and carving, rushing rivers have patiently sculpted this soft, porous grey rock into a breathtaking, almost alien landscape of towering, jagged spires, deep, echoing, bottomless sinkholes, and massive, winding underground cave systems. Because the terrain is so incredibly fractured, so impossibly steep, and so vertically extreme, it has naturally created what awestruck scientists call sky islands. These are profoundly isolated, high-altitude havens, separated from the rushing, noisy world below by sheer, misty, unscalable cliffs. In these floating, ethereal, silent kingdoms, the very concept of evolution seems to slow down. Time itself seems to stand completely, perfectly still. The pandas exist beautifully on these isolated, floating green islands in the clouds, completely severed from the frantic rushing of the lowlands, resting eternally in a prehistoric stone cradle that has remained beautifully, perfectly and quietly unchanged for countless millennia. The ancient, echoing, heavy silence of these floating sky islands is only ever broken by a voice that seems entirely wonderfully out of place for such a massive, heavy, imposing creature. The true reason this giant does not roar terrifyingly like the great fierce brown and black bears of the freezing north is found deep within the delicate, beautiful architecture of their own throat. Their larynx, or voice box, entirely lacks the specialized, heavy, thick, elastic folds required to physically produce a deep, rumbling, bone-shaking roar. Instead, their internal vocal cords are surprisingly tight, relatively thin, and incredibly delicate. The rolling mist. It is the rolling mist. It is a profound, literal, physical inability to be fierce. Nature has literally, intentionally silenced the terrifying roar within them. replacing the harsh sound of a worldly aggression with the soft, vulnerable, endearing music of a truly gentle soul. They are physically built from the inside out for quiet, peaceful communication, designed by the ancient, resting earth to speak softly, to move slowly, and to rest endlessly in the cool emerald shadows, exactly as you too drift endlessly, perfectly, and completely, down into the soft, deep, welcoming quiet of the longest, most peaceful night. The soft, endearing music of a truly gentle soul dissolves into the cool emerald shadows of the high-altitude groves, where the very light itself seems to slow down and rest. As we drift deeper into this ancient sanctuary, the air becomes heavy with the scent of wet stone and wild, crushed mint. This profound quietude is mirrored in the way these massive wanderers interact with the most basic element of their survival, the simple act of breathing. Because of their incredibly slow-moving, low-energy lifestyle, their respiration is a masterclass in tranquility. A resting giant panda may breathe only 3 to 5 times per minute, a slow, rhythmic expansion of the ribs that feels like the gentle, unhurried swell of a calm ocean tide. Every breath is deep, deliberate, and entirely sufficient. There is no gasping, no rushing, no exertion. Just a quiet, steady exchange of life, pulling in the crisp mountain air and releasing it back to the forest as a soft, warm mist. And as you listen to the rhythmic cadence of my voice, you might notice your own breath beginning to mirror that same ancient slowness, becoming a quiet, effortless tide of relaxation, rising and falling, this rhythmic tide of air flows through a body that is a marvel of thermal engineering, specifically designed to thrive in the biting diamond-edge cold of the Sichuan winters. While their thick, oily fur provides the primary barrier, there is a hidden, internal warmth that radiates from their very core. Their metabolism, though remarkably low, is focused entirely on maintaining a steady internal furnace. They possess a unique distribution of brown adipose tissue, a specialized type of fat that acts as a biological heater, converting energy directly into warmth rather than just storing it. This allows them to remain perfectly cozy even when draped over a frozen log in sub-zero temperatures. Imagine the feeling of being entirely warm on the inside while the world outside is crystalline and freezing. It is the ultimate sensation of snugness, a deep, internal glow that keeps the chill at bay. You can feel that same warmth now, a soft, radiant heat beginning at the center of your chest and spreading slowly to your fingers and toes, making you feel heavy, safe, and beautifully insulated from the world. The radiating warmth of that internal glow guides our awareness to the delicate silver moonlight filtering through the bamboo canopy. In this shimmering nocturnal world, we discover that the panda's activity is not dictated by the rising and setting of the sun, but by a rhythm all its own. They are what scientists call cathemeral, meaning they are active in short rhythmic bursts both day and night. They do not subscribe to the rigid schedules of the waking world. If they are hungry at midnight, they eat. If they are tired at noon, they sleep. Their lives are a beautiful, seamless blur of activity and rest, a continuous flow of existence that honors the body's needs in the exact moment they arise. This fluid way of being removes all pressure, all deadlines, and all expectations. There is only the now. By embracing this cathemeral rhythm, they remain in a constant state of flow, never fighting against their nature but always yielding to it. And as this knowledge settles into your mind, your own internal clock begins to wind down, letting go of the hours, letting go of the schedule, simply drifting in the timeless silver light. The timeless silver light of the moon reflects off the most specialized tools in the panda's possession, tools of incredible strength that remain hidden beneath pads of soft, dark velvet. While we have marveled at their pseudo-thumb, the true power of their grip lies in the curvature of their claws. Unlike many other bears whose claws are long and blunt for digging, the panda's claws are relatively short, incredibly sharp and dramatically hooked. This specific architecture allows them to climb with the effortless grace of a mountain goat, hooking into the rough bark of ancient larches and firs with absolute unwavering security. They do not struggle to ascend. They simply latch on and pull, their heavy bodies moving upward with a slow, mechanical precision. When they reach a high branch, they can lock these claws into place, allowing them to sleep in precarious heights without ever fearing a fall. It is a sense of being perfectly anchored, of being physically incapable of slipping. You can feel that same security now, a sense of being perfectly held by the surface beneath you, safe, secure, and entirely supported. And as this feeling of absolute security washes over you, your breathing slows even further. Your body feels heavy and rooted, anchored to the peace of the ancient trees, letting every muscle simply melt into the stillness. The unyielding grip of those sharp, hooked claws leads us to consider the sheer, massive scale of the anatomy they must support. The giant panda is a creature of immense physical density, a mountain of muscle and bone cloaked in a suit of thick, protective fur. An adult male can weigh up to 300 pounds, yet they move through the dense, tangled undergrowth with a silence that is almost supernatural. This is due to the unique structure of their shoulder blades and pelvis, which are broad, flat, and exceptionally heavy. This low centre of gravity makes them nearly impossible to tip over, providing a physical stability that mirrors their psychological calm. They are the living embodiment of the word sturdy. When they sit, they do not just sit. They occupy the space with a profound, immovable presence. Imagine yourself becoming that sturdy, becoming that immovable, feeling your weight sink deep into the earth, unbothered by the wind, unbothered by the noise, just a heavy, peaceful monument of rest. This heavy, immovable presence eventually gives way to the most delicate and fleeting of encounters, the soft, ephemeral dance of the mountain seasons. In the brief window of the alpine spring, the forest undergoes a transformation that is both visual and aromatic. This is the only time of year when the solitary panda feels the pull of another's presence. To find one another in the vast vertical maze of the mountains, they use a specialized form of communication, the scent mark handstand. To ensure their message is carried as far as possible on the mountain breeze, a panda will walk its hind legs up the trunk of a tree until it is standing entirely on its front paws, placing its scent as high as it can reach. This remarkable display of strength and balance serves a single, quiet purpose: to connect. It is a beautiful upside-down ritual, a moment of great effort used to ensure a future of quiet companionship. It reminds us that even in the most solitary lives, there is a time for reaching out, a time for connecting with the rhythm of others before returning once more to the deep personal quiet of the forest. The high, aromatic message left on the tree bark slowly fades as the summer mists return, bringing with them a different kind of sensory wonder. Beneath the broad, waxy leaves of the bamboo, the forest floor is a damp, cool world of mosses and fungi. While the panda is a specialist in bamboo, they are also opportunistic explorers of the forest's hidden bounty. On rare, humid afternoons, they may pause to delicately consume certain types of mountain mushrooms or wild, succulent grasses that grow in the deep shade. These small, varied snacks provide a burst of different textures and flavors, a gentle break in the long, rhythmic monotony of the bamboo harvest. It is a reminder that even in a life of strict discipline and focus, there is room for soft, unexpected detours. The path is not always straight. Sometimes it winds through a patch of wild clover or lingers by a cluster of forest fungi. You can allow your mind to wander now, taking soft, unexpected detours through pleasant, drifting thoughts, knowing that every path leads back to the same deep, emerald peace. And as your mind wanders through these pleasant, mossy detours, your breathing slows to a near standstill, you're exploring the quiet corners of your own imagination, drifting further and further from the noise of the day. The cool, damp mushrooms of the forest floor lead us to reflect on the incredible ancient resilience of the panda's very lineage. While many species are defined by their rapid change and adaptation, the giant panda is a master of consistency. They're often called living fossils because their physical form has remained largely unchanged for millions of years. This is not a sign of stagnation, but of a design so perfect, so balanced, and so suited to its environment that change was simply unnecessary. They found their place in the world eons ago and had the wisdom to stay there. There is a profound, deep-seated comfort in this kind of longevity. It is the comfort of an ancient mountain, the comfort of a star that has burned with the same steady light for an eternity. You are part of that same steady lineage, a long, unbroken chain of life that knows exactly how to survive, exactly how to breathe, and exactly how to rest. You don't need to change anything. You're already exactly where you need to be, resting in the perfection of your own nature. This ancient, unchanging nature is beautifully expressed in the way they handle the most extreme elements of their world. When the summer monsoons bring torrential rains that turn the mountain paths into rushing streams, the panda does not panic or seek frantic shelter. Their fur, as we know, is oily and waterproof, but their behaviour is what truly defines their resilience. They will simply sit, hunched over, with their back to the wind, becoming a soft, rounded stone in the rain. They allow the water to wash over them, becoming part of the storm rather than fighting it. There is a magnificent power in this kind of surrender. By not resisting the rain, they are not bothered by it. They simply wait, with a patience that is as deep as the roots of the mountains. They know the storm will pass, they know the sun will return, and in the meantime they are content to simply be wet, to be cool, and to be still. You can practice that same surrender now, letting the events of your day wash over you without resistance, becoming a still, quiet stone in the stream of time. The still, quiet stone in the stream eventually finds its way to the most hidden and sacred of all places, the mountain nursery. We return to the image of the mother and her cub, but this time we look at the incredible specialized chemistry of her devotion. Panda milk is unlike the milk of any other bear. It is remarkably thick, and its composition changes dramatically as the cub grows, providing a precisely calibrated sequence of nutrients for the infant's rapid development. For the first several months, the cub's entire world is the taste and warmth of this life-giving fluid. This chemical bond is so strong that the mother will often cradle the cub even while she's sleeping, her massive arms acting as a living, breathing incubator. This is the purest form of biological support, an automatic, nourishing flow that requires no thought from the infant, only the willingness to receive. You're in that state of receiving now, letting the quiet, nourishing peace of the night flow into you, replenishing your energy, healing your body, and preparing you for a new, bright beginning. And as you receive this deep, nourishing peace, your breathing slows to its most tranquil rhythm. You are being held by the night, nurtured by the silence, and guided by the ancient, gentle wisdom of the forest. The life-giving flow of the mountain nursery finally leads us to the very end of the panda's long, slow journey through the mist. In the wild, these gentle giants can live for 20 years or more, a testament to the success of their tranquil, low-stress lifestyle. Every year of their life is a victory of peace over aggression, of stillness over haste. As they age, their movements become even slower, their rests even longer, and their connection to the forest even deeper. They become the very spirit of the mountains they inhabit, a presence that is felt even when it is not seen. They remind us that a life well lived is not measured by the speed of our travel, but by the depth of our rest and the quality of our presence in the moment. The panda has mastered the art of being, and as you drift now into the final, deepest stages of sleep, you are mastering it too. There is nothing left to do. There is nowhere left to go. There is only the breath, the mist, and the infinite emerald peace of the great green mountain, drifting, drifting, down into the deep, dark, beautiful silence of the night. The deep, dark, beautiful silence of the night stretches out infinitely beneath the thick, protective canopy of the ancient bamboo forest. As your mind drifts through the cool silver moonlight, the light catches the edge of the sleeping giant's coat. From a distance, in the soft, blurred focus of our dreams, their iconic black and white fur appears to be as soft as down, like the finest, most delicate velvet imaginable. But the physical reality of this magnificent creature is built for the rugged, unforgiving edge of the world. If you were to run your hand along their heavy shoulders, you would feel a texture that is surprisingly beautifully coarse. Their outer guard hairs are incredibly thick, stiff, and wiry, feeling much like a dense, resilient woven mountain rug. This tough, bristling exterior is a vital, living armour, appearing impossibly soft to the eye yet physically shielded by a brilliant, unyielding toughness, a perfect boundary between their quiet internal peace and the sharp, demanding world outside. The coarse, resilient texture of the mountain rug seamlessly repels the freezing, biting moisture of the high-altitude air, and this profound, waterproof boundary allows them to gracefully navigate a totally different, intensely fluid world. When their solitary wandering brings them to the edge of a rushing, wide, glacial river, filled with icy meltwater tumbling down from the jagged peaks, they do not hesitate or search for a bridge. Despite their immense, heavy bowling ball frames, giant pandas are magnificently strong, confident and silent swimmers. They simply step down into the freezing, turbulent currents. Their thick, oily fur instantly shedding the icy water while trapping a thick layer of insulating air tightly against their skin. Their massive lungs act as internal buoyant balloons, lifting their heavy chests as they paddle with a slow, rhythmic, unpanicked, dog-like stroke. They cross the violent, freezing waters with a calm, heavy, buoyant grace, entirely unbothered by the cold, completely surrendering to the flow of the river while moving steadily toward their quiet destination. You too can surrender entirely to the flow of this moment, letting the cool, calming currents of sleep carry you smoothly and safely to the other side of the night. The icy, rushing currents of the valley slowly mirror the quiet, suspended state of life hidden deep within the giant's heavy, resting core. When a new life is conceived in the misty shadows of the spring, nature initiates a breathtaking pause, a biological phenomenon of pure, unhurried waiting known as embryonic diapause. The microscopic, newly formed embryo does not immediately attach to the safety of the womb to begin its rapid growth. Instead, it enters a profound state of suspended animation. It simply floats, perfectly still, perfectly safe, in the warm dark, completely pausing its own development for weeks, or sometimes even several months. It waits patiently for the turning of the earth, waiting for the mother's nutritional state to be perfectly optimal, and for the harsh winter snows to align precisely with a safe, spring birth. It is a microscopic masterclass in infinite patience. The embryo knows that there is absolutely no need to rush into existence. It simply rests in the void, waiting for the perfect, exact moment to begin. And as this profound, ancient patience settles deeply into your own muscles, your breathing slows even further. You realize there is never any need to rush the dawn. Your mind too can simply float in this suspended, beautiful dark, letting the perfect moment arrive exactly when it is meant to. From the soft, floating suspension of the winter womb, a tiny life eventually emerges into the damp, earthy den. As the weeks slowly pass and the fragile, hairless pink cub begins to grow its very first coat of fur, the forest weaves a temporary, beautiful visual spell. The iconic, stark black patches we so easily recognize do not appear immediately. Instead, the cub passes through a wonderfully soft, ethereal transitional phase. The bands of colour blooming across their shoulders, their tiny legs, and around their innocent closed eyes are a muted, dusty charcoal grey. It is as if the baby panda is slowly materialising from the mountain fog itself, holding the soft, blurred colours of the rain clouds before fully committing to the heavy, stark contrasts of adulthood. This grey phase is a gentle, visual whisper, a slow, beautiful fading in of their identity. They are slowly developing, slowly becoming, wrapped in the soft, forgiving colours of the morning mist. Just as your own dreams are slowly forming, softly materialising from the gentle grey shadows of your resting mind, the gentle, shifting hues of the growing cub eventually solidify into the deep velvet black of the adult, drawing our eyes down the heavy curve of their back to a feature surprisingly prominent, yet rarely noticed. While we envision bears as entirely tailless, heavy-bottomed wanderers, the giant panda retains a distinct ancient anatomical signature. They possess the second longest tail of any bear species on Earth, a surprisingly prominent, densely furred appendage that can measure 4 to 6 inches in length. When they sit heavily upon the damp moss to consume their endless meals, this bright white, bushy tail acts as a soft, padded cushion. But its true purpose is revealed in the quiet shadows of the ancient pines. The base of this tail covers their specialised scent glands, acting exactly like a soft, wide, natural paintbrush. When they back up against a towering, rough-barked conifer, they use this hidden, white brush to broadly and perfectly sweep their waxy, aromatic messages deep into the grooves of the wood. It is a quiet, deliberate stroke of ancient communication, painting the forest with the invisible, lingering essence of their peaceful existence. The soft, sweeping motion of this hidden brush becomes desperately, urgently important for a beautifully fleeting, incredibly brief window of time. In the sprawling, endless loop of the mountain year, the female panda experiences a moment of fertility that is almost impossibly short. She is physiologically receptive to the creation of life for a mere 24 to 72 hours out of the entire 365-day cycle. It is a microscopic sliver of biological time, a single, ringing chime of an ancient clock that echoes through the twisting valleys. For this one fragile moment, the solitary ghosts of the forest must perfectly align their paths, guided only by the complex, fading perfumes left painted on the trees. This breathtakingly narrow window demands a perfect, patient alignment with the rhythms of the earth. It is the ultimate expression of trusting the timing of the universe, knowing that all of life's massive, heavy energy is distilled into one fleeting, perfect moment of connection before the quiet, solitary peace of the forest resumes its endless reign. And as this knowledge of perfect, divine timing settles into your awareness, your breathing slows to a gentle, hypnotic tide. You let go of the rigid schedule of the waking world, trusting completely that you are exactly where you need to be in the exact moment you are meant to be here. The turning of the ancient seasonal clock eventually brings the biting, bitter frost creeping down from the high, jagged peaks. As the temperature plummets and the bamboo leaves crystallize with ice, the panda engages in a deeply bizarre, beautifully fascinating sensory ritual to combat the freezing world. Wandering through the shivering pines, their highly sensitive noses seek out a very specific, earthy scent on the forest floor. When they discover the fresh, organic droppings left behind by wild, roaming mountain horses, they do not turn away. Instead, they drop their massive weight and roll heavily, luxuriously and vigorously in the earthy matter, meticulously coating their thick fur. This is not a mistake, but an incredible hidden act of pharmacological genius. The organic compounds found within the earth, specifically beta-caryophyllene, physically and chemically bind to the cold-sensing protein receptors in the panda's skin. It is a natural botanical anesthetic. By rolling in the fragrant earth, they are literally chemically turning off their ability to feel the freezing winter chill. They wrap themselves in an invisible chemical blanket of pure warmth, hacking their own biology to remain perfectly cozy, perfectly unbothered, and blissfully numb to the freezing chaos of the winter winds. Wrapped in this unseen chemical blanket of warmth, they wander continuously through a landscape crisscrossed by invisible, heavily mapped borders. Yet, unlike the fierce territorial predators of the lowlands who will fight with terrifying aggression to defend their strict boundaries, the panda's map is a masterpiece of peaceful overlay. The sprawling high-altitude home ranges of these gentle giants do not crash against one another like tectonic plates. Rather, they gently, smoothly overlap like sheer, sliding layers of silk. A single, misty grove of umbrella bamboo might be the quiet dining room for 3 or 4 different wandering adults over the course of a week. They share the exact same earth, the exact same water, and the exact same emerald shade, yet they almost never meet face to face. They navigate this shared space purely by reading the lingering aromatic notes left on the wind, deliberately adjusting their slow, shuffling paths to avoid direct contact, avoiding conflict, avoiding stress. They are like silent, gentle ships passing perfectly in the misty night, sharing the vast, quiet ocean of the forest with absolute unbroken harmony. In this silent, harmonious passing, the only visible movement in the dense green shadows might be the microscopic, subtle language of their beautifully rounded, fuzzy ears. When we observe a panda resting heavily against a mossy stone, they appear as still as statues. But if you watch closely, you will see a rapid, fluttering twitch of the ear, a tiny, localized earthquake in a mountain of absolute stillness. This delicate, flicking movement is an involuntary, instinctual response, a quiet way to ward off the tiny, buzzing insects drawn to the damp monsoon air, or to quietly, internally process a sudden, distant sound without ever having to lift their heavy heads or open their sleepy eyes. It is the absolute minimum amount of energy required to interact with the world, a simple, fluttering twitch, and then an immediate return to profound, heavy, unbroken peace. Your own body knows this gentle language, the tiny, involuntary release of a resting muscle, the soft, heavy sinking of your shoulders, tiny ripples in the vast, deep ocean of your relaxation, expanding outward and fading perfectly into nothingness. This tiny, fluttering vibration at the top of the world rests directly above a physical structure that hides a staggering, almost incomprehensible secret. We know the giant panda is a creature of supreme, unbroken gentleness, a biological pacifist dedicating its entire existence to the quiet consumption of grass. And yet, hidden beneath the incredibly thick, soft, round cheeks of their innocent face, the giant panda retains one of the highest bite force quotients of any terrestrial carnivore on the planet. Their crushing jaw power rivals that of the roaring lion, the stalking tiger, or the fierce polar bear. They possess a magnificent, devastating, bone-shattering strength. But the true beauty, the profound, poetic grace of this animal lies in how they choose to use it. They take this magnificent, terrifying, ancestral power, and they use it exclusively, gently, and rhythmically to snap the hollow, quiet chambers of a single green stalk. It is the ultimate perfect expression of restrained power. It is the choice of absolute peace, even when you possess the physical strength for war. They are strong enough to break the world, yet they choose only to sit quietly within it, munching softly in the damp emerald light. And as you feel this deep, quiet, restrained power settling within your own resting body, your breathing slows to a near standstill. You realize the immense strength it takes to simply be still, to let go of the fight, to let the heavy, magnificent peace take over completely, sinking down, drifting away, perfectly safe and infinitely strong in the dark, infinitely strong and perfectly safe in the dark. The heavy, sleeping giant rests beneath a canopy of stars that have watched these mountains for millions of years. As the silver, ethereal light of the moon washes over their thick, resting form, we see only the stark, beautiful contrast of deep velvet black and pristine snow white. But nature, in her infinite quiet wisdom, hides a remarkable secret just beneath the surface of this iconic illusion. If you were to gently, softly part the thick, dense hairs of their heavy coat, you would discover that the pattern is not merely a superficial colouring of the fur. The very skin itself, hidden completely from the waking world, perfectly mirrors the shadowy map above it. Beneath the deep, absorbing black patches that cover their heavy shoulders and mask their gentle eyes, the skin is deeply, darkly pigmented. And beneath the pure, blinding white of their round bellies and soft cheeks, the skin is a delicate, fragile, soft shade of pale pink. It is a profound, permanent duality, an invisible map drawn directly upon the flesh, a quiet reminder that our true nature runs deep beneath the surface, hidden safely in the warm dark, entirely unbothered by whether the outside world sees it or not. You too hold your own deep, quiet truths beneath the surface, perfectly safe, perfectly hidden, and entirely yours to protect in the peaceful stillness of the night. The unseen map hidden upon their skin gently guides us to the hidden architecture behind their peaceful resting lips. As they sleep, their heavy jaw remains relaxed, parting just slightly to release the slow, warm mist of their breath. Within this quiet space lies a magnificent evolutionary paradox. They possess exactly 42 permanent teeth, a complex, heavy arrangement inherited directly from their ancient, fierce, meat-eating ancestors. They still carry the long, sharp, imposing canine teeth that a predator would use to hunt in the freezing snow, yet in a beautiful, poetic surrender to a life of peace. These terrifying, sharp teeth are rarely used for anything more aggressive than gently grasping a smooth, round stalk of bamboo to pull it close. The true, heavy work is relegated entirely to the back of their mouth, to the impossibly wide, flat, heavy molars that rhythmically, endlessly grind away the tough fibres of the forest. It is a jaw built for war, but devoted entirely beautifully to peace. They carry the ancient weapons of their past, but they choose every single day never to use them. They have laid their weapons down, just as you have laid down the defences of your day. Choosing instead the soft, rhythmic, grinding peace of this quiet moment, this magnificent biological architecture is absolutely necessary for the staggering quiet abundance they must gather from the mist-shrouded groves. We have spoken of the long, unhurried hours they spend sitting upon the damp moss, but the sheer physical volume of this peaceful harvest is almost beyond human comprehension. Because the tough, fibrous mountain grass offers so little caloric reward, a single, fully grown adult may calmly, methodically consume up to 84 pounds of bamboo in a single, quiet spring day. Imagine a mountain of crisp, green stalks, heavier than a large stone, slowly and steadily vanishing into the quiet giant. It is an act of supreme, unbroken dedication. They do not gorge themselves in a frantic rush. They simply eat and rest, and eat and rest. It is a slow, methodical taking in of the world around them, trusting completely that the forest will endlessly provide exactly what they need in the exact quantities they require. There is no scarcity in their emerald kingdom. There is only endless green abundance waiting quietly in the mist, and as this deep, comforting knowledge of absolute abundance settles softly into your mind, your breathing slows even further. You let go of the anxieties of not having enough, of not doing enough, realizing that right here, right now, in this warm, heavy dark, everything you need is already perfectly provided. This staggering intake of the forest's bounty flows beautifully into a constant, unbothered rhythm of biological release. When a creature consumes over 80 pounds of solid, fibrous vegetation, the internal journey is remarkably swift, leading to a phenomenon that perfectly illustrates their deep connection to the earth. A resting giant panda will pass waste up to 40 times in a single 24-hour cycle. In the rushing, anxious human world, we might view this as an inconvenience. But in the slow, ancient logic of the mountain ecosystem, it is a magnificent, rhythmic, endless returning of a gift. Because their simple digestion is so wonderfully inefficient, what they return to the forest floor is essentially perfectly mulched, highly nutrient-rich, damp green earth. They wander slowly through the ancient trees, continuously, gently fertilizing the very ground that sustains them, ensuring that the next generation of bamboo will rise thick and strong from the misty soil. They are not merely taking from the world, they are a constant living conduit of renewal. They hold on to absolutely nothing. They take what little they need for the hour, and they instantly, peacefully let the rest go. You too can embrace this endless cycle of release, letting every passing thought gently leave you, holding on to absolutely nothing, and simply returning to the soft grounding peace of the mattress beneath you. The deep, enriched earth absorbing this continuous flow brings us to the very essence of the green stalks themselves. When we watch a panda peeling away the tough outer layers of the bamboo, we imagine they are eating dry, woody, unyielding timber. But the profound secret of their survival lies in the hidden moisture held deep within the living plant. In the vibrant damp flush of the high-altitude spring, a fresh young bamboo shoot is composed of up to 90% pure, trapped mountain water. They are not merely eating the forest, they are drinking it. Every satisfying, echoing snap of the stalk releases a flood of cold, clear, filtered hydration directly into their heavy bodies. The bamboo is a living green vessel, a natural cup collecting the ancient rain and the freezing mist, holding it perfectly safe until the gentle giant arrives to claim it. It is a beautiful merging of hunger and thirst into one singular, effortless action. The water of the mountain becomes the water of their blood, flowing smoothly, cleanly, and quietly through the dark, washing away any lingering heat, cooling the mind, and settling the spirit into a state of pure, fluid tranquility. The pure, trapped rain within the green vessels slowly changes its shape and texture as the great ancient wheel of the year turns. The panda is a creature of deep habit, yet they possess a beautiful intuitive flexibility that perfectly matches the shifting seasons. As the warm monsoons of summer fade into the crisp, diamond-edged chill of autumn, the tender, water-rich shoots of the forest floor slowly vanish. The panda does not panic. They do not fight the turning of the earth. Instead, they gracefully, quietly shift their entire diet upward. They move their heavy attention from the vanishing shoots at their feet to the dry, mature, rustling leaves of the upper canopy. They adapt seamlessly to the changing textures of their world, accepting the soft green leaves of winter just as gratefully as the crisp, watery shoots of spring. It is a profound lesson in non-resistance. They do not demand that the world remain the same. They simply shift their heavy gaze, open their peaceful jaws, and find total satisfaction in whatever the current season gracefully provides. And as you embrace this beautiful, unresisting flexibility, your breathing slows to its most tranquil, hypnotic pace. You release the need to control the changing seasons of your own life, softly accepting the current moment exactly as it is, feeling perfectly safe in the natural ebb and flow of time. The quiet tracking of these seasonal gifts requires no great exhausting journeys across the treacherous globe. While the great whales swim across entire oceans and the delicate birds navigate by the invisible magnetic lines of the earth, the giant panda is a creature of profound, localized contentment. Their entire universe is incredibly beautifully small, a solitary, wandering adult will often restrict their entire existence to a home range of merely 1.5 to 2.5 square miles. In this tiny, mist-shrouded kingdom, they know every single moss-covered boulder. They know the exact twist of the ancient pine roots, where the snow falls the softest. They know the exact echoing ravine where the sweetest arrow bamboo grows in the pale afternoon light. They find an entire, infinite, satisfying cosmos within a microscopic patch of the sprawling earth. They have absolutely no desire to see what lies beyond the next towering ridge. They are the ultimate masters of being perfectly, deeply present right where they are. Imagine the profound relief of knowing that you do not need to go anywhere else to find peace. Your entire universe of comfort is right here, within the 4 soft walls of this room, within the heavy warmth of this bed. Completely sufficient, entirely complete. This deep, profound contentment with the immediate world is guided not by the frantic, searching scanning of the eyes, but by the slow, deliberate deep drawing of breath. In the dense, confusing vertical maze of the bamboo understory, where the thick green stalks blur together into a solid wall, clear vision is almost entirely useless. Over millions of years of resting in the shadows, the panda's visual memory has grown softly dim, while an entirely different invisible sense has flourished magnificent. They navigate their tiny, perfect kingdom almost entirely through an incredibly complex, highly developed olfactory memory. Their sensitive noses can map the invisible world of the forest with startling pinpoint accuracy. They can smell the subtle, microscopic differences in the age of the bamboo. They can smell the damp approaching rain hours before the clouds crest the jagged peaks. And they can read the lingering, complex emotional state of a distant neighbour solely from a waxy scent left on a tree trunk days prior. They walk through the dark with their eyes half closed, trusting completely in the invisible, fragrant currents of the air to guide their heavy, shuffling steps. Just as you are trusting the invisible, soft currents of this story to guide you safely through the dark, the invisible, aromatic map of the mountain creates a perfect, unseen web of safety that extends even to the most vulnerable, fragile moments of their lives. We return once more to the damp, earthy den, to the mother and her growing cub. As the weeks turn into months, and the tiny cub gains its thick, protective black and white coat, a beautiful shift in their deep bond occurs. The massive mother, requiring up to 80 pounds of food to sustain her own heavy life, can no longer remain perfectly still in the dark. She must venture out into the emerald maze, and so she does something that requires a profound, ancient trust. She gently carries her small, fuzzy cub to the base of a massive, ancient, hollowed-out tree, and she leaves it there, completely alone in the sprawling, echoing forest. For hours at a time, the cub waits in the hollow dark. It does not cry out. It does not wander. It simply curls into a soft, perfectly still, camouflaged ball, wrapped in the safety of the wood, knowing with absolute cellular certainty that its mother will follow her invisible scent map back to this exact spot. It is a breathtaking display of independence and trust. The cub rests peacefully in the absence, finding total security in the quiet waiting, and as you feel that same absolute security settling deep into your bones, your breathing slows into a soft, steady rhythm of perfect trust. You know that it is entirely safe to be quiet, safe to be still, safe to let the world carry on around you while you remain perfectly, heavily at rest in the hollow of the night. The absolute unquestioning trust of the resting cub beautifully mirrors an ancient, deep-seated belief held by the human observers who first gazed up at these misty peaks thousands of years ago. Long before science named them, categorized them, and measured their heavy bones, the giant panda existed in the realm of pure ethereal mythology. In the earliest, most ancient texts of the Chinese empires, there are whispers of a magnificent mythical creature known as the Zuyu. This legendary beast was described as a striking, beautiful creature of stark black and white, possessing the imposing, massive body of a fierce tiger, but carrying a soul of absolute divine righteousness. The myth stated that the Zuyu was so profoundly gentle, so entirely devoted to peace, that it would gracefully, deliberately, step around a single living blade of grass rather than crush it beneath its heavy paw. It was said that this magnificent mythical creature would only appear in the physical world during the reign of a perfectly just, perfectly peaceful emperor. The panda was not merely an animal, it was the very physical embodiment of harmony, a living, breathing symbol that the chaotic world had finally found its balance. And as you drift deeper into the soft velvet shadows of this journey, you're becoming that exact same embodiment of peace, a quiet, gentle soul resting in perfect, unbroken harmony with the silent, sleeping earth. The silent, sleeping earth feels the soft, heavy, rhythmic pressure of their unique, swaying passage. As the mist parts in the cool blue light of dawn, we observe the way this magnificent creature physically moves through the world. They do not walk with the straightforward, rigid, marching gait of other forest dwellers. Instead, their heavy front paws turn softly inward, their thick toes pointing toward one another in what we might gently call a pigeon-toed stance. This gentle, inward angle of the foot creates a magnificent, slow, side-to-side rolling waddle. It is a beautiful swaying pendulum of heavy bone and thick muscle, a deliberate rolling rhythm that expertly, perfectly conserves every single ounce of their vital energy. They do not fight the pull of the earth, they simply roll with it, shifting their massive weight smoothly from one side to the other, rocking softly back and forth as they glide through the emerald shadows. It is a motion of absolute, unhurried ease, much like the gentle rocking motion of a heavy wooden cradle, soothing the mind and gently rocking your own thoughts into a state of deep, undisturbed rest. This slow, rolling pendulum of their heavy walk comes to a gentle, satisfying halt beneath the sprawling, moss-draped canopy of an ancient, fragrant cedar. When it is time to consume the endless green abundance of the forest, the panda adopts a posture that feels wonderfully, profoundly familiar to our own resting nature. They do not stand on all fours to graze, nor do they lie flat against the damp soil. Instead, they drop their heavy hips, bend their flexible spine, and sit completely, comfortably upright. They recline their massive, heavy backs against the sturdy, supportive trunk of the tree, spreading their thick hind legs wide into the soft, damp ferns. This magnificent, relaxed, seated posture completely frees both of their heavy, dexterous front paws. They become the ultimate picture of leisure, leaning back in the cool, dappled shade, holding their food exactly as we might hold a warm cup of tea, entirely supported by the strength of the earth behind them. You can feel that same perfect support right now, allowing the soft surface beneath you to completely hold your weight, leaning back into the softness, letting go of all the effort of standing. The perfectly relaxed, seated posture in the cool shade allows them to focus entirely beautifully on the slow, rhythmic metronome of their meal. As they bring the fresh, damp stalks to their lips, a hidden, meticulous balance unfolds within their heavy jaw. To protect their massive, broad molars from uneven wear over a long lifetime of crushing rigid fibers, the panda engages in a remarkably precise, completely symmetrical pattern of chewing. They will methodically, rhythmically crush the bamboo on the left side of their mouth for a few, slow, deliberate moments. And then, with unhurried grace, they shift the stalk entirely to the right side. It is a perfect biological equilibrium, a slow, alternating dance of pressure and release, left side, right side, left side, right side. This perfectly balanced rhythm ensures that no single part of them is ever overworked or strained. It is the physical embodiment of a balanced life, distributing the weight, distributing the effort, and finding total, perfect harmony in the repetitive, soothing motion. And as this perfectly balanced rhythm settles deeply into your own mind, your breathing slows. You feel a profound, perfectly centered equilibrium washing over your resting body, releasing tension evenly from the left side and the right side, sinking evenly and smoothly into the dark. The repetitive, soothing motion of the harvest, slowly, eventually softens into a different, far more delicate ritual of care as the afternoon light turns a warm golden honey. Despite their immense, heavy size and their rugged, damp, muddy environment, these gentle giants are meticulously, wonderfully clean. Much like a small, resting feline entirely at peace in a sunbeam, a satiated panda will begin a slow, thorough process of self-grooming. They will raise their heavy, thick-padded paws, gently lick the coarse fur, and methodically wipe the soft, sensitive areas around their rounded ears and their dark, innocent eyes. They wash away the sticky, sweet sap of the bamboo and the loose, damp earth of the forest floor. It is a quiet, solitary act of self-soothing. A deliberate, slow cleansing of the physical body that seems to simultaneously wash away any lingering energetic static from their quiet mind. They brush away the remnants of the day, leaving themselves perfectly immaculate, perfectly refreshed, and entirely ready for the deep slumber that awaits them. You too are quietly washing away the remnants of your day, brushing off the clinging, waking thoughts, leaving only a clean, pure, unburdened stillness behind, the soft, wet swipe of the heavy paw across their brow, eventually travels down to rest upon the most fortified, impenetrable, yet incredibly soft boundary of their entire body. If you were to gently stroke the thick, heavy ruff of fur just beneath their rounded chin, you would discover a layer of skin that is astonishingly dense. The dermal layer around the panda's neck is the thickest of any place on their massive frame, sometimes measuring over 1/4 of an inch of pure, tough, unyielding hide. This heavy protective collar acts as an invisible, fleshy shield. In the rare moments of a clumsy tumble down a steep, rocky ravine, or when pushing their heavy weight through a particularly dense, thorny, unforgiving thicket of wild mountain rose, this thick neck entirely protects their most vital, fragile arteries and nerves. It is an evolutionary masterpiece of passive defense. They wear a permanent, heavy scarf of pure safety, ensuring that no matter what sharp, jagged edges the world may present, their most vital core remains eternally, perfectly untouched and completely secure. This impenetrable, heavy collar of pure safety slowly, softly yields to the shifting, warming breath of the changing mountain season. As the deep, freezing bite of winter finally surrenders to the warm, humid, heavy monsoon air of July, the panda begins a beautiful, silent process of letting go. They do not hold stubbornly onto the heavy, insulating undercoat that saved them in the deep snow. Instead, they experience a profound, natural, deep summer shedding. As they wander their solitary, twisting paths, they leave behind large, soft, floating tufts of white and black fur, snagged on the rough bark of the pines, or drifting slowly down to rest softly upon the emerald moss. It is a physical, visible release of the past season, a gentle shedding of the weight they no longer need to carry. They simply let the warm wind take it. They lighten their physical load effortlessly, allowing the cool, humid air to reach their skin, perfectly adapting to the new temperature of the world, just as you're now shedding the heavy, unnecessary layers of your waking worries, letting them drift away into the shadows, feeling lighter, cooler, and profoundly unburdened. And as you release your own heavy layers into the quiet night, your breathing slows even further. Your chest rises and falls with a weightless, effortless grace, completely adapted to the deep, cool peace of this exact, perfect moment. The deep, cool peace of their newly unburdened skin. is perfectly regulated by a magnificent internal thermostat that operates entirely unlike any other great bear in the forest. Because their diet of mountain grass provides such a low, slow burn of energy, their entire biological furnace is set to a profoundly tranquil, quiet simmer. The giant panda naturally maintains a core resting body temperature that is distinctly, beautifully lower than their carnivorous roaming cousins. They are quite literally cooler creatures. This slightly lowered internal heat is a masterpiece of passive energy conservation. They do not waste precious calories radiating unnecessary warmth into the damp alpine air. Instead, they hold their quiet energy deep within, maintaining a cool, steady, unbothered baseline. Imagine the sensation of a cool, soothing compress placed gently across your forehead on a warm evening. That exact, deep, internal coolness is the very baseline of their existence. It is a state of being completely chill, completely relaxed, and entirely free from the overheating, frantic rush of the waking mammalian world. The quiet internal coolness of their resting core occasionally seeks out a different, deeply grounding flavour from the damp, shadowy earth beneath the swaying bamboo. While the crisp, water-rich green shoots are their absolute, undisputed preference, their magnificent, heavy claws are sometimes employed for a slower, deeper harvest. On quiet, overcast afternoons, guided by their exceptional, sensitive sense of smell, they will deliberately dig into the dark, fragrant topsoil. They seek out the sweet, starchy, hidden roots of specific mountain vines, or gently, methodically, strip the soft, fibrous inner bark from certain ancient fallen logs. These earthy, rich, hidden delicacies provide a sudden, complex burst of trace minerals and distinct textures, a grounding, heavy flavour that ties them directly to the very foundation of the ancient forest. It is a quiet reminder that nourishment can be found deep within the dark, that sometimes we must look beneath the surface to find exactly what our body and our spirit quietly crave. You're doing exactly that right now. Digging deep into the soft, quiet dark of your own mind, finding the deep restorative nourishment of absolute, unbroken stillness. The deep, earthy roots of the ancient mountain remind us of the deep, ancient roots of their own physical, miraculous growth. If we cast our minds back to the tiny, blind, pink infant nestled entirely in the dark den, we find a visual illusion that perfectly captures the magic of passing time. When a panda cub is first born, its tail is remarkably, surprisingly long, making up an astonishing 1/4 of its entire fragile, tiny body length. But as the months turn into years, and the creature consumes literal tons of the green forest, the tail does not actually, physically shrink. Instead, the magnificent, heavy, sprawling mass of their adult body simply grows exponentially, massively around it. What was once a prominent long feature is slowly, beautifully eclipsed by the sheer, magnificent volume of their adult form, reducing the tail to a small, white, bushy cushion. It is a gentle reminder that some things do not disappear. They are simply put into perfect perspective by the massive, beautiful growth that surrounds them. The small worries of your past are exactly like this, not vanished, but completely eclipsed by the massive, beautiful peace of your present moment. And as this gentle illusion fades perfectly into the dark, your breathing slows to a profound, steady, rhythmic calm. You feel the massive, heavy peace expanding all around you, putting every small thought into perfect, quiet perspective. The massive, heavy peace expanding all around you, finally settling upon the very feature that has captivated the human heart for centuries, the irresistible, soft, innocent geometry of the panda's face. Unlike the long, sharp, imposing snouts of roaming wolves or the fierce, angular profiles of other great predators, the panda possesses a beautifully flat, remarkably round, oversized face. In the quiet realm of evolutionary biology, this retention of juvenile, infant-like physical characteristics into heavy adulthood is known as neoteny. The magnificent combination of their massive round cheeks, their shortened soft snout, and those large dark teardrop patches around their eyes triggers a profound, ancient, and undeniable psychological response deep within our own human brains. We are biologically, instinctively hardwired to feel an overwhelming rush of nurturing love, of deep, protective affection, and of absolute calm when we look upon them. They are the living, breathing embodiment of innocence. They carry the gentle, soft, unthreatening face of a child upon the magnificent, heavy body of a giant. It is a visage that immediately disarms the viewer, melting away all aggression, melting away all fear, and leaving only a profound, soft, and endless well of love, drifting slowly, heavily, into the perfect welcoming arms of the deep, quiet night. The perfect welcoming arms of the deep, quiet night hold this magnificent creature in a state of profound, suspended grace. If we were to gently trace the heavy, rounded contours of their sleeping form back through the ancient, dusty, echoing halls of human language, we would discover a beautiful poetic truth hidden perfectly within their formal scientific name. To the quiet, observing world of biology, they are known meticulously as Aleuropoda melanoleuca, a soft, rolling, melodic sequence of ancient syllables that translates beautifully and simply to the black and white catfoot. This name is a quiet, profound nod to the surprising hidden elegance they possess in the dark. Despite their immense, heavy, towering bear-like bulk, the undersides of their massive paws are structured with the soft, yielding, highly padded elegance of a giant sleeping feline. They do not stomp roughly or crash heavily through the delicate undergrowth. They place their heavy feet with a soft, cat-like precision, rolling their massive weight silently and smoothly across the damp, fragile moss. It is a stunning, beautiful paradox. Possessing the immense, crushing mass of a mountain, perfectly paired with the silent, delicate, whispering footfall of a shadow, you can feel that exact same soft, cat-like grace in your own resting body right now. Every heavy limb completely relaxed, completely unsupported by effort, yet perfectly, naturally aligned, resting silently, softly, in the velvet dark. The silent, delicate footfall of the mountain shadow brings them eventually to the endless, softly swaying banquet of the upper emerald canopy. When they shift their slow, unhurried attention away from the thick, watery stalks and focus instead upon the delicate, rustling leaves of the bamboo, an entirely new, microscopic ritual of patience unfolds in the mist. They do not simply tear the green leaves blindly from the branch and swallow them in a chaotic, frantic rush. Instead, they engage in a mesmerizing, highly deliberate, breathtaking act of natural origami. Using their incredibly dexterous, flexible, sensitive lips and the gentle curve of that magnificent, elongated false thumb, they carefully, softly gather a small bundle of the long, slender green leaves. With slow, rhythmic, highly practiced, ancient movements, they meticulously fold the leaves over and over upon themselves, creating a tight, neat, perfectly compact little green parcel before finally, gently bringing it to their heavy, flat teeth. It is an act of supreme, unbroken mindfulness. They turn the simple biological act of eating into a slow, deliberate, beautiful art, paying complete, undivided attention to the texture, the fold, and the perfect shape of their quiet nourishment. It is a deep, gentle reminder to simply take our time, to fold our waking thoughts gently and neatly away, to slow down completely and honour the small, simple, quiet actions of our own peaceful existence. The neat, folded, perfect parcels of green slowly, continuously fuel a hidden, internal reservoir of pure, radiating, absolute comfort. Beneath the surprisingly coarse, thick, wiry rug of their black and white fur and far beneath the incredibly thick, tough, unyielding dermal layer of their skin lies a deep, soft, enveloping hidden layer of subcutaneous fat. This heavy, lipid-rich, completely internal layer acts as a permanent built-in liquid blanket. When the biting, crystalline, razor-sharp winds of the high-altitude winter begin to howl violently through the jagged, rocky ravines, this dense layer of fat traps their core warmth completely and perfectly. It prevents even the absolute slightest fraction of their vital, glowing body heat from escaping outward into the freezing silver mist. It is an evolutionary embrace, a physical, biological, permanent hug that holds them firmly in a state of absolute, unwavering coziness, regardless of the chaotic, freezing temperatures raging outside. Imagine the profound sensation of a heavy, heated, perfectly weighted blanket draped smoothly over your entire resting body, pressing down with a soft, comforting, undeniable, grounding weight. That is their eternal waking state in the snow. You're held safely in that exact same warm, heavy, perfect embrace right now, completely insulated from the cold, sharp, demanding edges of the waking world, entirely safe, entirely warm. The constant howling wind of the jagged ravines is completely softened and perfectly muted by a permanent, protective architectural feature of their ancient sprawling sanctuary. The deep, plunging Sichuan basin where they rest is famously, eternally shrouded in a dense, heavy, majestic layer of shifting cloud cover. The bright, burning sun almost never pierces this thick, silver atmospheric blanket with direct, harsh, glaring light. This perpetual, beautiful twilight is incredibly soothing to their dark eyes, but it also serves as a massive, sweeping environmental shield. The constant cool mist and the thick grey rolling clouds perfectly, continuously filter out the intense, burning ultraviolet radiation that normally bombards such high, extreme, exposed altitudes. The giant panda lives its entire, peaceful, slow life within a softly lit, perfectly shaded, eternally cool terrarium. They never need to frantically seek the shade because the entire vast sky above them is a protective, cooling canopy. It is a world entirely without glare, a world completely without harshness, a softly lit, eternal dusk that perfectly nurtures the quiet, sleeping mind. You can clearly picture that soft, silver, filtered light right now, a cool, grey, misty luminescence that asks absolutely nothing of your tired eyes, simply allowing them to rest, heavily and deeply, perfectly shielded beneath your closed, resting lids. And as this cool, silver, protective light settles perfectly over your resting form, your breathing slows to a gentle, hypnotic, rhythmic sway. The rising and falling of your chest perfectly, beautifully matches the slow, rolling fog of the ancient mountain valleys, carrying you deeper and deeper into the absolute undisturbed quiet, the cool grey luminescence of the perpetual dusk. Occasionally parts just enough to let a single, weak, watery, beautiful beam of pale sunlight touch the damp, fragrant earth. When this rare, gentle, warming light finally finds the sleeping panda, the magnificent, stark colouring of their coat performs a silent, brilliant, thermodynamic miracle. The pristine, snowy white fur resting on their broad back and soft belly acts to softly, gently reflect the ambient light, keeping their heavy core perfectly, beautifully cool. But the deep velvet black patches that densely cloak their massive shoulders, their heavy rounded legs, and their delicate fuzzy ears are masterfully designed by nature to do the exact, brilliant opposite. These dark, heavily pigmented regions act exactly like living biological solar panels. They instantly, hungrily and perfectly absorb every tiny fleeting fraction of thermal energy from the weak, pale sun, drawing the precious heat directly downward into their heavy extremities and into the sensitive, cold cartilage of their ears. It is a perfect, completely passive, silent system of temperature control, drawing warmth exactly where it is needed most, while remaining perfectly, comfortably cool exactly where they must. They are beautifully, effortlessly, thermodynamically balanced, drawing exactly what they need from the quiet universe and perfectly reflecting the rest away. You too are perfectly balanced right now, absorbing only the deep, restorative, warming peace of the night and effortlessly reflecting away every single, lingering worry of the day. This effortless, completely passive absorption of warmth perfectly, quietly supports a biological engine that runs at an unimaginably, breathtakingly slow, eternal pace. To truly understand the profound cellular depth of their unmatched tranquility, we must look at the invisible, microscopic burning of their internal energy. Scientists peering into the dark have discovered that the daily, resting energy expenditure of a giant panda is shockingly, astonishingly low, far lower than almost any other mammal of its massive size on the entire rushing planet. Their resting metabolic rate is not compared to the mighty roaming bears, or even to the constantly grazing wandering herbivores of the plains, but rather it is perfectly, astonishingly matched to the famously slow, heavy, lethargic three-toed sloth moving silently through the jungle canopy. This means that at a deep, fundamental cellular level, their very bodies are existing in a constant, unbroken state of profound, unhurried rest. Their cells do not rush frantically to divide. Their heavy blood does not race anxiously through their thick veins. Their entire biological, physical existence is one long, drawn-out, deep, perfectly peaceful breath. They are the ultimate living masters of the slow, quiet burn. And as you feel your own pulse slowing down, your own metabolism beautifully, peacefully decelerating in the warm dark, you are perfectly matching the ancient cellular rhythm of the sleeping giant, sinking down, entirely unrushed into a perfect biological stillness, the perfect biological stillness of their resting core. Is safely anchored by an incredible, hyper-aware, silent sensitivity to the vast, sprawling, misty forest around them. We know they can hear the faintest whispers of the ancient mountain, but the physical mechanism of this deep listening is a marvel of delicate, precise, soft engineering. Their rounded, black, fuzzy ears are not fixed, rigid, unmoving structures. They're incredibly flexible, highly articulated velvet receivers. A resting, seemingly unconscious panda can softly, silently, and completely independently rotate each individual ear, swiveling them like small, soft, perfect satellite dishes to expertly catch the exact direction of a muffled sound bouncing through the thick, damp, confusing bamboo. They can listen intently to the rushing, icy river in the deep valley below with one ear, while simultaneously perfectly tracking the soft, clicking flight of a mountain beetle in the canopy above them with the other. They are entirely, peacefully, perfectly aware of their complex surroundings, without ever once needing to open their heavy eyes or lift their massive heads from the moss. It is a state of omniscient, completely passive observation. They know exactly what is happening in their quiet green world, yet they remain entirely, beautifully, perfectly unbothered by it all. You can gently allow your own mind to enter this exact state of passive observation, softly hearing the quiet sounds of your room, feeling the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, aware of it all, yet completely, deeply, profoundly undisturbed. This state of completely passive observation is beautifully matched by the unimaginably slow, heavy, mesmerizing rhythm of their vision. When a giant panda rests quietly in the emerald shade, their large, dark, soulful eyes do not dart anxiously or rapidly around the dense forest. Instead, they exhibit a mesmerizing, incredibly slow, deeply hypnotic blink rate. The heavy, thick, velvet black eyelids slide slowly downward over their dark eyes, with the deliberate, completely unhurried, majestic pace of a setting sun. It is a blink that seems to defy time, stretching out gracefully over long, quiet seconds, a physical, totally visible manifestation of a deep, waking trance. Every single time those heavy, thick lids close, they gracefully seal away the complex, demanding visual world, turning completely inward to the quiet, dark, vast peace of their own resting mind. It is a slow, rhythmic, perfect shutter, gently closing and softly opening, gently closing and softly opening, smoothly, effortlessly, shutting out all the remaining noise of the long day. You can clearly feel that exact same heavy, irresistible, comforting weight in your own eyelids right now. The slow, sliding, perfect descent of the dark, surrendering perfectly, completely, to the overwhelming, beautiful need to simply close your tired eyes. And as this deep, rhythmic descent settles perfectly over your vision, your breathing slows once more. The slow, heavy shutter of the night has closed, protecting you completely, carrying you effortlessly and safely through the quiet, endless, undisturbed expanse of the dark. The quiet, endless, undisturbed expanse of the dark stretches out infinitely beneath a creature that holds a startling, magnificent, almost unbelievable secret hidden deep within its heavy, lethargic, resting muscles. Because we only ever observe them sitting perfectly still, or rolling softly and joyfully through the emerald ferns, it is incredibly easy to assume they are completely, biologically incapable of swift, sudden motion. But beneath that profound, chosen, beautiful slowness lies a massive, explosive, deeply dormant power. If absolutely, urgently necessary, a giant panda can burst into a heavy, thundering, terrifying sprint, reaching a top speed of over 20 miles per hour as it charges through the dense, tangled, unforgiving underbrush. They secretly possess the immense, terrifying, rushing speed of a great charging predator. Yet the true, profound, breathtaking beauty of their existence is that they almost never, ever use it. They have the absolute physical capacity to outrun the howling wind, but they consciously, biologically, peacefully choose to simply sit quietly in the mist. It is the ultimate perfect expression of peace, possessing magnificent, overwhelming, terrifying power and choosing entirely, completely, beautifully to let it rest. You too possess incredible waking power, the immense energy to rush, the energy to strive, the energy to conquer the day. But right now, in this perfect, quiet moment, you're choosing to let it all completely rest, choosing the deep, heavy, magnificent, healing stillness. Choosing the deep, heavy, magnificent stillness perfectly, flawlessly aligns them with the ancient, unhurried, infinite timeline of the very food that quietly sustains their gentle lives. The relationship between the slow panda and the endless bamboo is not merely a matter of simple consumption. It is a profound, beautifully synchronized, ancient dance of time itself. The specific, rare species of mountain bamboo they prefer do not grow with the frantic, chaotic, overnight urgency of lowland weeds. These ancient, high-altitude grasses grow at a deeply slow, incredibly patient, totally methodical pace, perfectly, exactly mirroring the slow, patient, methodical, resting metabolism of the giant who eats them. The ancient forest provides exactly enough, at exactly the right perfect speed, to match the slow, rolling, unhurried journey of the panda. It is a flawless, ancient, perfect ecology of pacing. The earth absolutely does not rush the grass, and the grass absolutely does not rush the giant. Everything in this misty green kingdom unfolds perfectly in its own, beautiful, unhurried time. There is absolutely no urgency in the mountain. There is absolutely no deadline in the mist. There is only the slow, steady, perfect, eternal rhythm of the natural world. breathing slowly in and breathing slowly out, wrapping you completely, perfectly in its heavy emerald embrace, and carrying you gently, smoothly, down, down, down into the deepest, softest, most perfect sleep imaginable. The deepest, softest, most perfect sleep imaginable often finds its physical, beautiful expression in a posture of complete, unabashed, and absolute surrender. When the heavy, humid, thick air of the mountain summer settles deeply into the twisting green valleys, the gentle panda seeks out a pristine patch of deeply shaded, cool emerald moss. Rather than curling into a tight, heavily insulated, protective ball as they do in the bitter winter, they perform a gentle, magnificent, sprawling movement, a deeply relaxed posture affectionately known in the quiet world of observation as the sploot. They lie entirely heavily flat upon their massive stomachs, stretching their thick, powerful hind legs straight out behind them, pressing the soft, delicate, pale pink skin of their underbelly directly against the cool, damp, ancient soil. It is a posture of absolute, breathtaking vulnerability and perfect, unshakable trust. By maximizing the surface area of their heavy body against the cool, damp earth, they effortlessly, passively draw the lingering heat out of their massive frame. The earth literally, physically absorbs their warmth, acting as a giant, soft, emerald cooling pad beneath the towering pines. There is absolutely no defense in this posture, no tension, no readiness to run, only the pure, heavy yielding of a giant trusting the ancient mountain to cradle its immense weight and cool its slow-moving blood. You can feel that exact same cooling, grounding pull right now, letting your own tired limbs feel incredibly heavy and loose, surrendering all your physical weight to the supportive, cooling, soft surface beneath you. The supportive, cooling surface beneath you gently draws our awareness deeper inward, far beneath the heavy fur, toward the very center of their heavy resting chest. We know their metabolism is famously, anciently slow, but the physical, biological engine driving this profound tranquility is a marvel of delicate, surprising proportion. In relation to their massive, sprawling 300-pound frame, the giant panda possesses a remarkably beautifully small heart. It is not a massive, booming, overworked muscle designed for terrifying bursts of sustained, predatory endurance or frantic, anxious chases. It is a quiet, efficient, perfectly formed small pump. It beats with a slow, steady, incredibly reliable, and profoundly gentle rhythm, perfectly, meticulously calibrated to sustain a life of peaceful, slow foraging and endless deep rest. This small, gentle heart never races with unnecessary ambition. It only ever asks for exactly what it needs to peacefully, calmly sustain the current, breathing moment. It is the beating, quiet center of a true pacifist soul. A gentle, rhythmic, muffled thud that perfectly echoes the slow, dropping condensation of the mountain mist falling from the bamboo leaves. And as this gentle knowledge settles, your breathing slows. You feel the quiet, steady, completely reliable rhythm of your own heart, beating softly, calmly in the dark. Requiring absolutely no conscious effort, simply perfectly sustaining you in a state of profound, resting peace. The quiet, steady rhythm of the heart, perfectly, rhythmically, paces their endless, deliberate, slow search for subtle, hidden nourishment in the mist, while the massive, fibrous green stalks of bamboo completely dominate their daily existence. Their ancient, highly sensitive tongues hold a fascinating, hidden, unexpected preference. Though they have biologically permanently lost the ability to taste the rich, savoury, umami notes of meat, their taste buds remain exquisitely, highly, perfectly attuned to the delicate sensation of sweetness. In the rare, serendipitous, magical moments when their slow wandering leads them to a hidden, fragrant patch of wild mountain berries, or when their heavy claws unearth a naturally sweet, starchy, wild mountain tuber from the damp, dark soil, they experience a sudden, joyful burst of pure, sugary delight. They possess a profound, hidden, beautifully innocent sweet tooth. This lingering biological preference is a soft, beautiful reminder of the simple, unadulterated joys hidden perfectly within the complex, heavy matrix of mountain survival. It is a momentary, sweet deviation from the endless green routine, a tiny, unexpected, glorious reward found buried in the dark, fragrant earth. You can savour the sweet, quiet, profound relief of this very moment, the gentle, rewarding, absolute softness of finally letting go after a long, demanding, heavy day. The rewarding softness of letting go is profoundly, physically amplified by the sheer, magnificent mass they carry upon their own heavy shoulders. We have marvelled at the coarse, wiry, resilient texture of their thick coat, but the magnificent physical weight of this fur is a soothing biological wonder all its own. The dense pelt of a fully grown, heavy giant panda can weigh several pounds entirely on its own, creating a thick, heavy, deeply insulating layer that drapes perfectly smoothly over their broad, sloping back and massive limbs. This is nature's original, perfect, deeply calming, weighted blanket. The constant, even gentle, heavy pressure of this thick fur resting permanently upon their muscles provides a continuous, deep pressure, tactile stimulation that inherently, biologically and neurologically soothes their central nervous system. It is a permanent, heavy, comforting, physical embrace that constantly signals the body to remain calm, to remain still, to remain securely and perfectly tethered to the present moment. You can clearly feel that exact same, deep, comforting, downward pressure right now. The soft, heavy blankets resting evenly, warmly upon your shoulders and your legs, pressing you gently, safely, and securely down into the welcoming velvet dark. The welcoming velvet dark of the forest floor silently captures the heavy, padded, perfect imprint of their solitary rolling passage. Yet, their massive footprints leave behind something far more complex, far more beautiful than just a physical muddy indentation in the damp moss. Hidden perfectly, invisibly between the rough, thick, hairy pads of their massive hind feet are highly specialized microscopic pedal scent glands. With every single, slow, rolling, heavy step they take through the misty, twisting corridors, they are silently, continuously, perfectly pressing a faint, waxy, highly complex chemical trail directly into the earth. It is an invisible, fragrant, perfect map of their journey, drawn effortlessly simply by the gentle act of walking. They do not need to stop or rub against a tree or purposefully announce their quiet presence to the world. Their very stride leaves a lingering, silent, aromatic story behind them, a soft, continuous, invisible whisper telling the quiet forest exactly where they have been and exactly how they felt when they passed. They move entirely through the world, leaving a trail of gentle, invisible, fragrant breadcrumbs, knowing perfectly, deeply well that they are never truly lost, entirely and permanently connected to the earth with every heavy, sinking, deliberate step. And as this deep, grounding connection settles seamlessly into your mind, your breathing slows. You realize that you too are perfectly anchored to your own quiet, safe journey, leaving the heavy, loud steps of the waking day completely behind you, moving effortlessly and smoothly into the soft, fragrant, infinite peace of the night. The soft, fragrant, infinite peace of the night often leads their slow, shuffling path to the smooth, glassy, moonlit edge of a high-altitude, freezing mountain pool. When the gentle giant finally pauses its endless rhythmic chewing to quench its deep, biological thirst, the method they use is a beautiful, rhythmic, mesmerizing display of delicate, surprising anatomy. Despite their immense, heavy, crushing muzzles, They do not simply plunge their heavy jaws violently into the water and gulp frantically. Instead, they gently extend a surprisingly long, highly textured, beautifully muscular pink tongue. They gracefully, rhythmically and slowly lap the freezing, pure, crystalline water, curling the delicate edges of their tongue backward to form a tiny, perfect, fleshy, liquid spoon. It is a slow, methodical, delicate, splashing, perfect rhythm. Lap and pause, lap and pause. The soft, liquid, rhythmic sound of their drinking harmonizes perfectly with the gentle, rushing, eternal babble of the mountain stream flowing over the smooth stones. It is a deliberate, deeply mindful consumption of the pure, cold element, soothing the throat, cooling the massive body, and perfectly, completely hydrating the heavy, resting giant in the pale, silver moonlight. The gentle, rhythmic splashing of the mountain stream beautifully mirrors the profound, rhythmic, bouncing comfort found deep within the secure, pitch-black shadows of the maternal den. As the fragile, pink, blind cub slowly, safely gains its stark, protective black and white colouring, the massive mother engages in a profound, nurturing, deeply physical behaviour that transcends simple, basic survival. When she's resting heavily, completely relaxed upon her broad, thick back, entirely supporting her own massive weight, she will gently, tenderly place the tiny, growing cub directly upon her soft, warm, slowly rising and falling belly. Using the immense, thick, hidden muscles of her massive abdomen, she will create a slow, gentle, rolling, bouncing, rhythmic motion, effectively, beautifully turning her massive body into a warm, living, breathing, rocking hammock. The tiny cub rests entirely perfectly upon this soft, undulating, maternal living mattress, rocked perfectly, safely, and rhythmically by the very breath and the very heartbeat of the giant mountain that protects it. It is the ultimate, perfect sanctuary of motion and absolute warmth, an environment entirely flawlessly dedicated to soft, gentle, continuous, unbroken soothing. This continuous, unbroken, rhythmic soothing is beautifully, chemically, and permanently reinforced by the very foundation of their endless, green, towering diet. We know that the mountain bamboo provides incredibly low caloric energy, gently enforcing their lethargic, peaceful lifestyle. But ancient, deep within the complex, microscopic chemical matrix of the green, swaying stalks, lies another, subtle, highly hidden contributor to their profound, unbroken peace. Certain specific species of high-altitude mountain bamboo naturally contain trace amounts of botanical compounds that possess mild, soothing, gently, naturally sedative properties. As the panda calmly consumes massive, heavy, endless quantities of this plant hour after hour, day after day, they are not merely filling their empty stomachs. They are gently, continuously, perfectly, chemically bathing their entire nervous system in a mild, natural, calming emerald elixir. The very food that sustains their heavy life also softly, quietly, perfectly medicates them against all stress, against all anxiety, and against the frantic, demanding rush of the waking world. It is a perfect, botanical, endless loop of absolute tranquility. Eating the deep peace of the forest and becoming the deep peace of the forest in beautiful, quiet return. And as this profound, tranquil, emerald loop completely washes over you, your breathing slows to an almost imperceptible, perfect rhythm. You passively, easily absorb the deep chemical peace of the resting world, letting it flow smoothly and warmly through your veins, calming every single, tiny, resting nerve, completely letting go. The deep chemical peace flowing warmly through their heavy veins does not in any way dull their brilliant, highly evolved, incredibly selective, quiet intelligence. While it may briefly appear to the untrained eye that they are simply, blindly, automatically devouring any green stalk in their path. They are, in profound fact, incredibly meticulous, highly discerning, absolute master foragers. In a dense, confusing, sprawling, misty thicket containing hundreds of identical-looking swaying stalks, the giant panda can instantly, perfectly and quietly identify the single specific stalk containing the absolute highest concentration of vital nitrogen and precious trace minerals. They use their highly sensitive, wet, velvet noses and their incredibly dexterous, delicate, prehensile lips to subtly test, smell, and instantly reject lesser, dry vegetation. They absolutely do not waste their precious, highly limited energy on empty, useless calories. They seek only the very best, the most nourishing, the most perfectly formed, succulent offerings of the ancient forest. It is a quiet, profound, beautiful lesson in holding perfect, energetic boundaries. They simply, peacefully say no to what does not deeply, truly nourish them, preserving their quiet, heavy, magnificent peace by only accepting exactly what perfectly, completely serves their gentle, slow life. Preserving their quiet, heavy, magnificent peace ultimately dictates the very rhythm of their waking and sleeping hours, binding them inextricably, beautifully to the ancient, slow breath of the mountain itself. Their cathemeral cycle of short, quiet naps and brief, focused meals is not random in the slightest. It is perfectly, flawlessly synchronized with the shifting, breathing microclimate of the alpine valleys. During the absolute warmest, most humid, heavy, stagnant hours of the early afternoon, when the mountain sun finally burns intensely through the mist and the forest air becomes thick, still, and heavy, the giant panda simply, completely stops. They intuitively find the deepest, darkest, coolest, most inviting emerald shadow beneath the sprawling roots of an ancient pine, and they surrender entirely, beautifully to a deep, heavy, majestic, unbothered afternoon slumber. They implicitly, anciently understand that there is absolutely no virtue, no reward in struggling against the heavy heat of the day. When the world becomes too warm, too bright, too demanding, and too loud, they simply close their heavy, dark, velvet eyes and sleep peacefully until the cool, silver, reviving mist of the evening returns. They yield perfectly, completely to the soft rhythm of the earth, just as you are yielding now, perfectly, completely and deeply to the heavy, welcoming, cooling, absolute shadows of the night, sinking deeper and deeper into the absolute, perfect, undisturbed, eternal dark. The absolute, perfect, undisturbed dark finally brings us to the most hidden of all thresholds, the 101st wonder that ties the spirit of the giant to the very fabric of the universe itself. This final secret is not found in the crushing strength of their heavy jaws, nor in the iconic velvet contrast of their thick fur, but in a profound microscopic phenomenon known as metabolic silence. Within every cell of the sleeping panda, there is a quiet, ancient capacity to enter a state of such deep, absolute tranquility that they essentially become a bridge between the living world and the eternal stone of the mountains. While they rest, their oxygen consumption and heart rhythm can drop to levels so profoundly low that they bypass the typical biological definition of waiting or resting. They enter a state of pure non-doing, a state where the boundaries between the creature and the forest truly, finally dissolve. They do not just inhabit the mountain. In these moments of deep cellular silence, they are the mountain. They teach us the ultimate philosophical truth of the wild, that the most powerful thing a living soul can do is to simply, completely exist without effort. To be still is to be whole. To be silent is to be heard by the earth. In this final, magnificent stillness, they reveal that the greatest strength is not found in the chase, or the harvest, or the struggle, but in the absolute, fearless surrender to the quiet, dark, and beautiful void of the present moment. They have nothing to prove, nowhere to go, and nothing to become. They are the 101st wonder, a living monument to the power of letting go. And now, as the 101st truth settles, like a soft silver dust upon your mind, the journey of the Emerald Forest is complete. The silver mist has fully descended, wrapping your room, your bed, and your weary spirit in a thick, heavy, cooling cocoon of absolute safety. The rhythmic snapping of the bamboo has faded into a distant, gentle whisper. The rolling footsteps have ceased, and the giant has finally perfectly curled into a soft, round ball of velvet peace. Your breathing is now a slow, shallow tide, moving in and out with the effortless grace of the wind through the high pines. The mountain is still, the den is warm, the dark is kind. You have journeyed through 101 wonders, and now, each of those truths is sinking deep into your subconscious, becoming a part of your own inner strength, a part of your own inner quiet. There is no more to learn. There is no more to hear. There is only the soft, heavy weight of the blankets, the cool, dry air against your cheek, and the infinite, welcoming depth of a sleep that has no bottom. You are drifting, falling softly away from the world of names and numbers. Becoming a quiet shadow in a forest of dreams, the giant is resting, the earth is holding you, all is well, all is quiet, all is peace, and now 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.